The Legacy of Professions starting from Danmachi. Chapter 61. A second later, the sword light struck the 18th layer's ground under every adventurer's despairing gaze, after a tremor. Every adventurer realized they weren't dead, only the few who'd panicked when the attack landed had even been hurt. We're not dead. We actually survived. Wah, I can go home and get married. One by one the adventurers shakily stood up. The helpless dread of death bearing down with no way to resist had pushed some to give up, planning to marry and live quietly ever after. But far more of those present felt a fresh hunger for power, they never wanted to feel this helpless again. Different flowers bloom, each with its own fragrance. While the adventurers were choosing their futures, whether chasing strength or a quiet life, they all stared ahead in a daze. The ground was gone, a chasm now gaped before them. One adventurer crept forward and peered down. The floor between the 19th and 18th layers has been pierced through. What? Every adventurer whirled toward him, then rushed en masse to the edge and looked down. It really is pierced. What in the world? Look, what's that? Just then one adventurer pointed at the ceiling of the 18th layer, a figure was streaking toward them. On the 17th floor, Lu Qiming rubbed his chin as he studied the enormous sword scar he'd carved. Half the entire floor was gone, nothing left but a vast abyss, and he glanced at the experience on his panel. Both assassin and adventurer were climbing fast, but with assassin now needing 6 billion express to level, this amount was a drop in the bucket. Yet adventurer had already accumulated enough attribute express across the board. System, update status. Ding. Adventurer profession status updated. All attribute express cleared, 0 to 99, right pointing arrow A, 800 to 899, post gains plus 0.9 to all stats. As the update took effect, Lu Qiming felt soul and body rise another notch. That sensation of breaking through again, inching toward the limit of his current life stage, utterly intoxicated him. It left him craving more. Then let's keep going. Seeing adventurer attribute express still rising, he leapt straight into the sword-cut ravine. Midair, he watched the split ground. It writhed like living flesh, madly creeping to close the wound. Soon it would heal completely. The next instant he ignored the walls, flipped head down, stamped hard on thin air, and vanished as a phantom blur, diving downward. Seconds later the dim light brightened, the space widened, until he looked below. Oops, made another mess. The forest and meadow-covered 18th floor had lost half its terrain, the rest was trashed. Rivers were severed, their water pouring into the central sword gash, forming new waterfalls. And the adventurer town he'd once seen was now total rubble. On its former plaza, a dense crowd of adventurers stared up at him. Hi, everyone okay? Hovering above the ruins, Lu Qiming gave a guilty grin. He'd gotten carried away while beheading Goliath and forgotten the 18th floor lay directly below his full-power strike. What do you think? A mage-robed adventurer started to rise and curse, but a companion yanked him back and pointed at the greatsword in Lu Qiming's hand. May I ask, that attack just now, was it? The mage quickly switched to a careful tone, eyeing Lu Qiming cautiously. I overdid it while chopping Goliath. Anyone hurt, or dead? Lu Qiming nodded. He wouldn't deny what he'd done, he owned it. Ahem, your strike opened this junior's eyes, my lord, my awe flows like endless rivers, your radiance rivals the sun itself. Hearing the confirmation, the mage nearly knelt on the spot. Terror of offending a big shot who'd just asked him a question made flattery pour out like a tide. Stop. I only asked if anyone was hurt. Answer first, then flatter. Lu Qiming rolled his eyes. Sure, the weak fawn on the strong, but at least answer the question first. No one died, my lord, just a few scrapes. Seeing Lu Qiming wasn't angry, the mage hurriedly clarified. No fatalities. Good. Lu Qiming exhaled. He showed no mercy to enemies, but deaths by his own mistake would still bother him. Which ones were hurt? The moment he asked, 4 or 5 people stepped out, only minor cuts and bruises. Here, compensation. He tossed 5 top-grade healing potions, then dumped Goliath's magic stone plus the stones and drops he'd gained in the middle layers onto the ground. Take these stones and drops as payment for wrecking your town and scaring you. With that, he accelerated and vanished skyward, heading for the next floor. Once he was gone, the adventurers stared at the pile of magic stones and drops, especially the floor master stone on top. Boruth, what do we do with this? One adventurer looked at the short-haired, eye-patch-wearing man beside him, the original founder of their current group. Gulp. Boruth swallowed. Even he rarely saw so many stones, let alone a floor master's, something only great familias could obtain. Greed flared, but the memory of that floor-piercing sword light crushed it instantly. Follow the Lord's order, convert everything to Valis, compensate the injured, and split the rest equally. Got it. The adventurers set to clearing the ruined town. Much salvageable goods remained, and even leaving would be impossible until the abyss-like fissure healed. Above the 24th layer. Lu Qiming landed softly on the ground and looked up. Overhead was an abyss-like shaft that offered a straight view all the way down to the 17th floor. Ahead of him, a canyon split the earth, the final scar left by Asura evil light slash. The 24th layer. He raised his eyes to survey the surroundings. Lush green trees filled his vision, and the roars of monsters echoed ceaselessly from afar. I remember this place has a monster food depot, there should be plenty of them over there. Lu Qiming recalled what he knew of the 24th layer. During the last expedition with the Loki Familia, he had gone overboard and enraged the dungeon consciousness. From the 20th floor onward he hadn't needed to search for monsters. Every creature in the entire layer would charge at him like rabid beasts the moment he appeared. But this time, no, it seemed even worse than last time. Last time he'd merely slaughtered monsters, this time he had punched straight through the entire stratum. Yet there wasn't the slightest sign of a monster riot. How impolite. He set off toward the southwest. He remembered there was a food depot in that direction. Meanwhile, a certain someone was hard at work repairing the stratum, the dungeon consciousness. Just you wait, once you reach the deep levels I'll crush you. In front of the food depot, dense crowds of monsters filed in non-stop, replenishing the energy their bodies required. Ha! Found it. From a high vantage beside the depot, Lu Qiming rested the longsword that was again across his shoulder, gazing down at the tide of monsters below. Then let's make it spectacular. A wild grin bloomed on his face, the blade rose high, gathering a dark red radiance. Better hold back a bit this time, blazing surge wave sword. The sword swept downward, flames shot skyward and surged toward the depot. The searing heat melted the ground to slag and turned vegetation to ash in an instant. Roar! Roar! Monsters that had been heading for food sensed danger and spun around, shrieking in terror. Behind them a wall of fire bore down like a tsunami. Gra! In moments the would-be diners scattered in panic, while those already inside or finishing their meal burst out and fled. But after only a few steps the pursuing inferno overtook them. Under its terrible heat they melted in seconds, leaving behind only magic stones that sank slowly into the magma. Boom! The next second the fiery wave slammed into the depot. A colossal explosion rocked the ground. The shock wave hurled magma and magic stones sky high like a grand display of fireworks, beautiful, yet carrying lethal death. Not a bad firework. From his perch Lu Qiming batted away a flying glob of magma and watched the rain of lava and stones, a faint nostalgia surfacing. He used to set off fireworks with his family every New Year. The scene was so similar, yet so different. This particular firework came with the deaths of thousands upon thousands of monsters. Then it's settled. Before I leave this world I'll set off one huge firework. Smiling, he hoisted again back onto his shoulder and headed for the next depot. As for the material for that future firework, why not use every last member of the Aikilos Familia? He was sure they'd be delighted to devote their worthless lives to the most gorgeous blast imaginable. Boom! 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 Deafening explosions rolled across the 24th layer. Scarlet-purple blossoms of fire rose into the sky. Only Lu Qiming and the few monsters lucky enough to escape were around to admire the breathtaking sight. Fireworks show's over, time to move on. Hey, dungeon consciousness, come clean up the mess. He shouted upward, slung again across his back, and strode toward the entrance to the next layer. Behind him the once verdant 24th floor had become a sea of flame. Mountains had been leveled, and every former depot now glowed as a pool of molten rock. After he stepped through the gate an invisible wall swept across the stratum. Flames converged madly toward its center, and a phantom figure of fire emerged. Eyes of living flame blazed with rage and helplessness, fixed on the gateway to the next floor, then on the ruined landscape. The molten ground flowed rapidly, piling into hills and riverbeds, lava cooled into stone or black soil, sprouts burst forth and shot up into trees, clear water bubbled into new channels, and monsters roared as they sprang from the earth. In barely an hour the 24th layer was reborn. Once restoration was complete the fiery silhouette lowered its gaze, seemingly peering through the ground at the black-haired figure below who kept unleashing bursts of flame or lightning. Wait a bit longer, once he reaches the deeper levels I can draw on far greater power. 26th floor. Having just frozen every monster in sight into statues, Lu Qiming looked up, the corner of his mouth twisting into a fearsome grin, then lowered his eyes to the snarling ice sculptures. So you can think after all. I wonder, can you actually kill me? He hoisted again and stared toward the entrance to the next floor, as though seeing, deep within the dungeon, endless newly spawned and ever stronger monster legions roaring at his distant presence, waiting to tear him apart the instant he arrived. He didn't care. Up here the dungeon consciousness could only bring limited power to bear and could do nothing to him. As for the deep levels, he would definitely pay them a visit before he left this world. Whatever the dungeon consciousness prepared for him, he could simply leave when the time came. He refused to believe it could chase him across worlds. Interesting. He kicked the ice statue to shards, casually stuffed the fallen magic stones into his pack, and continued onward. With a flick of his finger he opened the status panel. Time remaining, 286 days 8 hours 3 minutes. Name, Lu Qiming LV75 1,756,000,006 billionths. Spirit, 26. Strength, 26. Agility, 30. Endurance, 26. Classes, Assassin Adventurer, Special. He glanced at his stats. When he first activated the Adventurer class and broke through to the next life echelon, every attribute had risen by 3 points. After grinding the class all day, his overall stats had improved significantly since the expedition ended. He tapped lightly on the Adventurer class, and a detailed panel appeared. Adventurer LV1. Strength, S 1500 1999. Endurance, S 1500 1999. Dexterity, S 1500 1999. Agility, S 1500 1999. Magic, S 1500 1999. Magic spells, none. Skills, Unrivaled, Soul Blade, Dual Sword Mastery, Godspeed Reaction, Weakness Insight, Moon Arc, Limit Pursuit, Instant Shadow. Talent, Seed of Profession, The Primal Beginning, Infinite Possibility. In a single day, Lu Qiming had already ground every one of his stats to S rank. Each time the values maxed out and the status updated, all of his attributes rose by 0.1. Although the experience required kept climbing, at this rate he'd have every stat of a level 1 adventurer maxed at SSS in a few more days. Once that was done, he only needed to accomplish a great deed. To rank up, strength, endurance, agility, mind, and lifespan would all soar again, and incidentally break Ice's record. In the original story, Bell had taken a month and a half to go from LV.1 to LV.2, smashing Ice's one-year record. Now Lu Qiming would do it in a week at most. He wondered what title he'd earn. One thing he was sure of, he would stun all of Warario, and the world, once more, carving his own legend into this world. Perhaps when he returned in the future he'd still hear people talking about him. All right, one more floor and I'll head back. Lu Qiming closed the panel and glanced at his pack, already more than half full. That was the result of taking only the priciest drops and the largest mana stones, otherwise the bag would have burst long ago. He stepped off toward the 27th floor. Tap, tap, tap. In the gloomy corridor, heavy footsteps echoed. Wandering monsters snapped their heads around, eyes blazing red, and charged the source with claws and weapons bared. A tide of every sort of monster surged toward the lone figure, driven by bloodlust, each desperate to tear the human apart and gulp him down. Sky thunder fluctuation soared. Silvery lightning flooded the passage. Monsters shrieked. The stench of charred flesh drifted up as rows of them turned to black ash. Mana stones clattered to the ground. Done. Time to head back. In the fading lightning, Lu Qiming checked his status. The last sliver of experience was full. The system was prompting him to update again. This time he declined, crouching to collect the mana stones and drops. He'd ask Hestia to update him once he returned. Sure, the system could do it, but who'd turn down a pint-sized, well-endowed goddess walking barefoot across your back while she updated your status? Unless the system suddenly piped up in Klee's voice, host, let's finish updating and blow up the dungeon together. Not happening. His system had a mechanical dominatrix voice, nothing like a cute loli. Off I go. First stop, Aina's counter to swap these stones for Valis. It's been ages since I saw her. He pocketed the last mana stone, swung the pack onto his back, and strode toward the upper-level entrance. 24th floor. Lu Qiming clicked his tongue in admiration. The 24th floor he'd half destroyed had fully regenerated, the roars of newborn monsters echoed everywhere. Beautiful sight. Needs a firework celebration. Again, morphed into a longsword, rose overhead. Monstrous mana condensed into a visible pillar, the silver blade flushed crimson, then inched toward platinum as more power poured in. Blistering heat radiated, the ground beneath him melted, surrounding trees ignited. Ha! Arta's explosion. With a shout he stamped, rocketing skyward, and slashed the blade straight toward the center of the 24th floor. Boom! It was as if a sun had fallen. Endless flame ballooned, stone turned to magma in an instant, every tree on the floor became ash, rivers vaporized. Monsters vanished before they could scream, hills sagged and melted, lava flowing downward. The next second, still admiring his handiwork midair, Lu Qiming triggered, unmatched, lightning erupting around him as he vanished in a streak of electricity. Seconds after he left, a vast consciousness descended on the 24th floor. Noticing its freshly rebuilt floor annihilated again, the dungeon consciousness flew into a rage. It swept the entire floor. Finding no sign of Lu Qiming, it surged upward, rampaging through the levels above. Only when it neared the surface without success did it grudgingly withdraw and return. Instinctively it started to regenerate the floor again, then stopped. What if that fool shows up the moment I finish? No, not, what if, definitely. The moment the floor was restored, that scoundrel would blast it again. So the dungeon consciousness condensed its avatar once more and began remodeling instead. This time it would turn the 24th floor into a magma zone. Let's see the fool blow that up. Dungeon exit. Thunder cracked. Adventurers leaving the dungeon gaped as a bolt of lightning flashed past, only stopping several hundred meters beyond the gate. The light faded, revealing Lu Qiming. He turned to gaze back at the entrance. The instant he'd detonated the floor, a dark, malicious awareness had raced toward him, lethal pressure bearing down. Survival instincts screaming, he'd gone, unmatched, and bolted for the exit as a streak of lightning. Next time I'll blast you again. He released, unmatched, and stored again, heading for the Adventurers Guild. He'd remember this, his feud with the dungeon consciousness wasn't over. Still, the embodiment of this world's malice was no joke, even suppressed in the middle floors it could kill him. But he was certain he'd come out ahead. To muster enough force on the 24th floor, the dungeon consciousness must have paid a steep price. Henceforth he'd avoid the deep levels, there the consciousness could wield far more power, and if he wasn't careful he'd be forced to leave this world for good. But man, that was fun. No wonder so many love explosions, Didera adores them, Clay loves fish blasting, so what's wrong with me blowing up the dungeon? Muttering, he reached the guild doors and pushed them open with practiced ease. Yo, Aina. Here to cash in my stones. The afterglow of the setting sun spilled into the Adventurers Guild. Aina stood blankly at the counter, her gaze unfocused, attention drifting, as though lost in thought. Aina. Lu Qiming waved his hand repeatedly in front of the half-elf young lady, but she didn't react at all, until he set a hand on her shoulder and she finally turned with a start. Oh, Qiming. What brings you to the Adventurers Guild? Seeing it was Lu Qiming, Aina looked at him curiously. The expedition with Loki Familia had only just ended, why was he here? Haven't seen you in ages, thought I'd drop by and cash in these magic stones while I'm at it. He slipped the backpack off his shoulder and tossed it onto the appraisal counter for the clerk to weigh the stones and value the drops. What were you thinking about? I called you half a dozen times. Lu Qiming sat opposite her. If Aina needed help, he'd move mountains, she was the second friend he'd made in this world. It's nothing, but Qiming, have you been training Belle lately, that rookie adventurer from Hestia Familia? Not just training, I've joined Hestia Familia myself. Lu Kiming nodded, puzzled. She'd been brooding over that. Then do you know Bell teamed up today with a supporter from Soma Familia? Aina was surprised, everyone had assumed he'd join Loki Familia. But since he was in Hestia Familia, he must know Bell's situation. I ran into them in the dungeon. Something wrong with that. You've only just arrived in Orario, Soma Familia is odd. Every member's obsessed with Valis in a fanatical way, willing to do anything. I'm afraid Bell might be tricked. Remembering Bell's trusting nature, Aina had worried herself into a daze. Knowing Lu Kiming was in the same familia eased her mind. Kiming, could I ask a favor? You want me to warn Bell to watch out for that Soma Familia adventurer, right? He looked at her worried face, same as when he'd first stepped into the guild. Relax. I've met the supporter with Bell, she's nothing like the rest of Soma Familia, actually a decent kid. She just dislikes adventurers because of some childhood stuff. They'll get along fine. Sure, Lily's basically joined his harem already, what could be happier? If you and Bell both say she's fine, I'll trust your judgment. Aina smiled, choosing to believe them even if she didn't know why Lu Kiming was so sure. Don't worry, if anything happens, I'm here. True, Mr. Top-class adventurer famous all over Orario, Lu Kiming. Her lips curved teasingly. Then may this renowned top-class adventurer invite the beautiful lady to dinner. Not tonight, still on duty. Tomorrow. Then I'll come again tomorrow. Deal. They smiled at each other. Your total is 50,038,000 Valis. Please check. The clerk's voice drifted from the counter. I'll head off, then, see you tomorrow. Lu Kiming stood, pocketed the 50 million Valis card and the pouch of 38,000 coins, waved to Aina, and walked out. Outside, in a small plaza near the guild, Bell and Lily faced each other with a large sack between them. Lord Bell, am I dreaming? Lily stared at the bag, over 200,000 Valis, more money than she'd ever seen. So much. Lily, so much. Lord Bell is amazing. Not at all, it's all thanks to you. Without your find we'd never have earned this. Bell hugged her in excitement, she'd been the hero of the day. Hee hee, time to split the earnings, then. Sure. Bell poured half the Valis into another sack and handed it to Lily. Huh. Lily froze, staring at the bag. Why? Why give Lily so much? Shouldn't an adventurer toss me a pittance, or keep it all? Haha, with this much I can treat Master Kiming and Lady Hestia to something great tonight. Bell, oblivious, counted the remaining 100,000 plus Valis, planning dinner. Lord Bell, why split it half and half? Didn't it ever cross your mind to keep it all? Clutching the money bag, Lily stared at him, shocked, moved, disbelieving. Huh. Alone I'd never have earned this much. It's only because you helped, thank you. Let's keep working together. He offered his hand with a sincere smile, as if nothing could be more natural. How strange. Eyes glistening, Lily gripped his hand tightly. So warm. Under the sunset their shadows mingled, hands clasped fast. Yo, Bell, nice job picking up a girl on day one. Someone popped up beside them, grinning. Master Kiming. Bell let go of Lily's hand and hastily explained. It's not like that, listen, Master. Lily's my partner, thanks to her I earned all this Valis. He held up the bulging sack for Lu Kiming to see. Not bad, Bell. Lu Kiming eyed the 100,000 plus Valis in Bell's bag, and the equally fat one at Lily's side. The kid had out-earned him on his first dive. Heh, thanks to Lily, she found an ice-sealed passage on the 7th floor today. There were loads of magic stones and drops inside, most of these Valis came from the stones we swapped there. Bell, hearing Lu Kiming's praise, rubbed the back of his head bashfully and glanced at Lily. An ice-sealed passage. As Lu Kiming listened to Bell, the story felt oddly familiar, hadn't he seen it himself? Bell, was that passage where you picked up the stones and drops near the entrance to the next floor? Master Kiming, how did you know? Bell and Lily stared at Lu Kiming in shock. Nothing much. If nothing went wrong, the stones you picked up are the ones I was too lazy to collect today. Lu Kiming reached out and ruffled both their heads. He hadn't expected the stones he'd ignored would be scavenged by the two of them. Talk about not letting fertilizer flow into others' fields. Master Kiming, you left them. Too lazy to pick them up. Belle and Lily lifted their heads, looking at Lu Kiming in utter disbelief. Was this what being a powerhouse meant? Yeah, actually I tossed away a lot. I simply couldn't carry it all. Lu Kiming slipped the pack off his back. Unlike Lily's capacity-first bag, his had to stay compact so it wouldn't hamper movement, so its volume shrank accordingly. You threw away a lot. Lily eyed the tiny pack, then recalled how Lu Kiming couldn't be bothered to collect upper floor stones. Her heart couldn't help twitching in pain. So painful, my little moneybags. They were just mid and upper floor stones, don't worry about it. Seeing Lily's heartbroken face, Lu Kiming vigorously tousled her hair again. All right, enough of that. Let's head back, otherwise our goddess will worry. See you tomorrow, Lord Bell, Lord Kiming, goodbye. At Lu Kiming's words Lily's eyes dimmed for a moment, then she brightened again and waved the two off. See you tomorrow, Lily. Bell hadn't noticed Lily's fleeting change, he waved back with a grin. Let's go, Bell, time to head home. Lu Kiming watched Lily leave without comment, then turned straight toward the Hestia Familia camp, the basement. Sometimes things don't need saying, doing them is enough. Yes, Teacher Kiming. Bell hurried after Lu Kiming, happily discussing what to buy on the way back to surprise their goddess. Atop a high tower in Orario, Freya clung to the window, obsessed, eyes locked on the departing figure below. Freya pressed her whole body to the glass, desire and craving fixed on Lu Kiming's back. Her writhing form looked as though she were having an intimate, heart-to-heart, with him. When Lu Kiming's silhouette vanished, Freya began to tremble, her strength left her and she slid to the floor, an odd scent filling the room. Ottar, are the preparations I asked for ready? A tall figure stepped from the corner, though the man who would normally give his life for Freya without hesitation now wore hesitation on his face. My goddess, are you certain? Once we do this, you'll have to return to heaven, you can't stay in the mortal world. Ottar. Freya rose slowly, face entranced, walked up to Ottar's towering frame and leaned against him. Do you know? Her fingers traced the broad, powerful chest as a low murmur sounded. I can't wait any longer. As long as I have him, I don't mind returning to heaven. As you will. Ottar, seeing the expression he'd never witnessed on Freya, knew exactly what he had to do next. My goddess, should the magic book still be delivered to that boy named Bell? Ottar remembered another task and asked, lowering his head. Send it. I'm curious about that child too. If I can obtain him before Kiming, I won't mind. Understood. Ottar lifted Freya and gently set her on the bed, then turned to the nearby bookshelf, took a black magic book and prepared to leave. Ottar, wait. Let me update your status first. On the bed, Freya lay on her side, gazing at Ottar with misty eyes. Yes, my goddess. Ottar paused, set the magic book on the table, and walked toward her, his powerful frame gradually bared. In the slums, inside the basement of a dilapidated church. Hestia bounced cheerfully around Lu Kiming and Bell, her ample assets heaving with each hop, threatening to burst free at any moment. Goddess, stop jumping, we can afford meat every day from now on. Lu Kiming caught Hestia mid-bounce. Did she have any idea how hard her clothes were working? Really? We can eat meat every single day. Hestia hugged Lu Kiming's arm, eyes sparkling, oblivious to the fact that her terrifying depths had swallowed his limb whole. Yep, I guarantee meat every day. Lu Kiming quickly extracted his hand from Hestia's embrace and gently patted her head. He hadn't expected a goddess to be so thrilled about daily meat. Hee. Hestia sat beside Lu Kiming, pulled Bell over too, her face full of smiles. She was no longer alone. Half an hour later the trio had wiped the table clean. Bell volunteered to clear up. Goddess, could you update my status? Lu Kiming turned to Hestia and asked. Update status. Sure. Hearing he wanted an update, Hestia dragged him toward the bed, tugged off his shirt, waited for him to lie down, then straddled him. A soft grunt of pain sounded as droplets of blood fell. Light glowed on Lu Kiming's back, rows of milky white divine characters emerging. What is this? She stared at the uniform S-rank stats and the experience bar showing he could level up again at any moment. Have I lost my memory? Confronted with the sight, Hestia began to doubt her own memory. How could Lu Kiming's stats be S-rank after only one day? In the dimly lit basement, a white-haired boy was tidying the table while glancing toward a bed not far away. There, a child-faced, impossibly busty girl in bondage gear straddled a black-haired youth, writhing with excitement. Kimming, what on earth did you do today? Hestia smacked Liu Kimming's back. Slap, 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 her face full of disbelief. She knew he was strong, but raising every stat to S rank in a single day was a miracle. Nothing much. Simply hacked from floor 1 to floor 27 and wrecked a few levels along the way. Liu Kimming turned his head, looking calmly at the excited Hestia. Kimming, adventurers mustn't take reckless risks. You're powerful, but you can't act rashly. She pulled a sheet from the basket, pressed it gently onto Liu Kimming's back, stepped off the bed, and stared at him solemnly. In her endless years she had seen too many adventurers who scorned the dungeon never return. Rest assured, Lady God, I've never underestimated the dungeon. Liu Kimming sat up, accepted the status sheet Hestia offered, and smiled at her earnest little face. He had never looked down on the dungeon. Today's taunt of the dungeon consciousness had merely tested how much threat it could pose to him in the upper and middle floors, directly tied to his eventual profit when leaving this world. He wasn't sure the next world would offer such a perfect grinding spot. Before departing, how could he not rake in a fortune? Good, as long as you understand. Seeing that Liu Kimming truly did not belittle the dungeon, Hestia reached out and gently patted his head. Lady God, I'm taking Belle out for something tonight. So late. You and Belle are still going out, Kimming. Taking Belle for some training. Don't worry, Lady God. With that, Liu Kimming waved Belle over and led him out of the basement, heading toward the Soma Familia's area. Teacher Kimming, are we starting the next stage of assassin training? Belle looked curiously at Liu Kimming. Today's status update had boosted his strength considerably, and he assumed the next phase of assassin instruction was about to begin. More or less. Liu Kimming merely nodded, offering no further explanation. What came next would be Belle's own choice. Near the Soma Familia camp, in a narrow alley, Lily kept her head down, clutching the valise Belle had given her that day, hurrying silently as if trying to avoid something. Suddenly, 3 figures blocked her path ahead, eyeing her arrogantly. Hand it over. The Beastman leader snatched the purse from Lily's hand and kicked her to the ground. Oh, more than usual. The Beastman jingled the pouch, listening to the coins dance, a smug grin tugging at his lips as he looked at Lily on the ground. But it's still not enough, don't you think, Erd? He stepped beside Lily, crushed her head beneath his foot, and ground it mercilessly. A worthless adventurer like you, who do you think let you join our Soma Familia? It was thanks to you, great adventurer. From the ground came Lily's anguished whimper. Then earn money like your life depends on it. Ha ha ha. The Beastman kicked Lily hard in the stomach and, laughing with his companions, turned to leave. She rakes in quite a bit. Gotta keep her grinding coins for us. Yeah. After all, this is your blood money. At the alley's mouth 2 figures barred their way. Spotting the unique black hair and eyes found only in Orario, the trio froze. Be blood berserker, why are you here? The once arrogant threesome scrambled backward. Take another step and I won't mind lopping off a few legs or arms. A low voice echoed through the alley, tangible killing intent coiling around the retreating trio. Move again and they'd be crushed without hesitation. Gulp. Blood berserker, we never crossed you, what do you want? The Beastman swallowed hard, standing motionless, a thin cut opening on his forehead. Blood trickled into his eye, yet he dared not wipe it. Had he reacted a moment slower, he'd already share the fate of the companion now missing. Only 2 thugs remained. Moonlight spilled into the gloom, revealing countless crimson threads. A blood-red mist rose, leaving behind merely a puddle of gore and scraps of cloth. Lily. Beside Liu Kimming, Belle dashed out, lifted Lily from the ground, and poured the top-grade healing potion Liu Kimming had given him that day into her mouth. Lord Belle, Lord Kimming, why are you here? After drinking the potion, the pain vanished from Lily's face. She stared in shock at Belle and the calmly smiling Liu Kimming. Teacher Kimming said we were heading to the next training stage, then spotted you. Belle glanced curiously at Liu Kimming. How had he known Lily was here and in trouble? Belle, bring Lily here. Yes, sir. Belle hurried Lily to Liu Kimming's side, yet passing the pool of gore, his kind heart couldn't help but ache. One life erased, leaving nothing behind. Belle, draw your weapon. Noting Belle's expression, Liu Kimming said nothing, merely ordering with an impassive face. He had long known Bell harbored a fatal flaw for an assassin: excessive kindness. In the original story, adventurers who again and again sought to kill Bell, even kidnapping Hestia, were spared by him after defeat. He even risked himself to save them when they were in danger. Watching the anime back then, Liu Qiming had found Bell's attitude grating. Enemies repeatedly tried to murder him and threatened his family, yet he could still let them go. He understood Bell aspired to be a hero, but a true hero isn't a naive saint. Such naivete could endanger loved ones. Teacher Qiming, what are we doing? Though Bell obeyed, drawing the Hestia blade, his trembling hand foretold what would come next. Kill them, or choose not to. Your decision. Overhead, drifting clouds blocked the moonlight, plunging the narrow alley back into darkness. Kill them, or choose not to. Either way is fine. In the gloom, Liu Qiming's cold voice rang out. His eyes calmly watched Bell, who gripped a blade yet trembled uncontrollably. Kill them. Teacher Qiming, they were only robbing us. I believe if we just teach them a lesson they'll realize their mistake and never do it again. Bell's voice shook with shock and refusal. He had never imagined tonight's so-called training would force him to take a life. Do you truly believe they'll turn over a new leaf? Liu Qiming lowered his head and asked Bell. Sir, we'll definitely change. We'll never do this again. Miss Lily, please beg Lord Qiming for mercy, we really won't do it again. That's right, Lily, remember. I was the one who brought you into the Soma Familia, without me you wouldn't even be alive. The two survivors knelt frantically, even tossing back the purse they'd stolen from Lily. Lily said nothing, she simply picked up her pouch and looked at Liu Qiming and Bell. Although she had only spent a single day with Bell, she already knew he was overly kind and trusting. Nothing wrong with that, yet an adventurer's kindness must be selective, and these men deserved none. She now realized Liu Qiming was well aware of Bell's softness and wanted him to change. At the very least, such dregs deserved no leniency. Teacher Qiming, they've admitted their wrongs and promised never to repeat them. Is that so? Liu Qiming glanced at the pleading Bell, then at the silent yet resolute Lily. Sir, we truly won't do it again. Yes, we know we were wrong. The two Soma Familia adventurers, sensing hesitation, redoubled their apologies. Teacher Qiming, they really know their mistake, could we spare them? Bell looked at Liu Qiming and continued to entreat. Lily, what do you think? Ignoring Bell, Liu Qiming gently stroked Lily's hair and asked. Lily has no opinion, she will obey Lord Qiming and Lord Bell. Lily looked at Bell and said no more. Very well, Bell, decide for yourself. With that, Liu Qiming withdrew the hair-thin killing intent that had blanketed the alley. Thank you, Teacher Qiming, Lily. Seeing Liu Qiming relent, Bell thanked them at once. He stepped forward, urged the two to reform, and after receiving their oath let them leave. Once they were gone, Bell lowered his head and walked back to Liu Qiming. Sorry, Teacher Qiming, no need to apologize. I'm only your teacher, I guide you, the final choice is always yours. Liu Qiming eyed the downcast Bell. He had foreseen this outcome, yet disappointment still stung. He could only hope Bell would learn. Looking up, Liu Qiming gazed after the departed pair. With his terrifying perception he could clearly hear every word they spoke in the distance. Lily, you're not going back tonight, come with me. Yes, Lord Qiming. Lily nodded obediently. She knew what awaited her in the Familia. Those so-called adventurers would never simply reform. They would seek revenge, and she would be their first target. If she returned, retribution would start with her. Let's go. Bell, head back, I won't return tonight. Tell our goddess not to worry. With that, Liu Qiming left with Lily. Lord Bell, I'll wait for you at the dungeon entrance tomorrow. Lily turned and called to Bell. See you tomorrow, Lily. Watching Liu Qiming and Lily disappear into the night, Bell started back toward the Familia camp. He knew tonight's choice had disappointed Teacher Qiming, yet he still felt he had done right. Tomorrow he would apologize properly. On the street, Liu Qiming bought 2 snacks from a nearby stall and handed one to Lily. Thank you, Lord Qiming. Taking the snack, Lily stepped up to him. Lord Qiming, I believe Lord Bell will one day understand why you did this. I believe so too. Liu Qiming smiled at the worried Lily and gently patted her head. After all, tomorrow Bell would learn the price of tonight's mercy. Kindness is noble, but some people deserve only despair. Kindness is a fine trait, yet for certain men it is wasted, they need only despair. The next day, Lu Qiming rose early from Sister Tia's bed, gently shifting the leg draped across him, and declined Sister Anya's invitation to morning exercise. I'm off, likely won't be back tonight. Stinker, stay safe. Come back whenever you miss your sisters, my door's always open. Sitting up, Sister Tia planted a light kiss on Lu Qiming's cheek. Got it, Sister Tia. With a smile Lu Qiming dressed, stepped out, called Lily from the hall where she was eating breakfast, and together they headed for the dungeon entrance. Inside the room, Anna watched the dazed Tia staring at the doorway and curiously moved closer. Sister Tia, have you fallen for Qiming? Brat, since when did you learn to tease me? Tia pulled Anna under the quilt and deftly began teasing her ample chest. I only see Qiming as a little brother, and I should ask if you've fallen for him. Of course not, he's just my little brother too, any love is the sisterly kind. Tia smiled at Anya, fingers lifting the girl's delicate chin. A big sister doesn't drink tea alone with her little brother. HMPH, same for you, Sister Tia. My chats with him are just wholesome care for his mental health, body to soul. Exactly, fulfilling my big sisterly duty to look after my little brother. The two exchanged a smile beneath the quilt and drifted back to sleep. After tending to their little brother all night, rest was well deserved. By now Lu Qiming and Lily had reached the dungeon entrance. He walked up to Belle, entrusted Lily to him, and stepped into the dungeon alone. Good morning, Lord Belle. With her usual smile Lily greeted Belle. Morning, Lily. By the way, where did Teacher Qiming take you last night? To the tea shop. Under the rising morning sun, all of Orario brimmed with new life, and in the liveliest spot of the labyrinth city a white-haired boy's sudden cry drew every eye. The tea shop. Teacher Qiming took you there last night, Lily. Around them, adventurers, men and women alike, looked at the shouting white-haired boy with pity. So young, yet his girl had been led off to the tea shop by his own teacher, and she wasn't even hiding it. Poor kid. Lord Belle, you're making a fuss. It was late and there wasn't an inn nearby, so Lord Qiming took me to the tea shop run by Lady Tia. I simply slept alone in a guest room. Lily hushed the yelling Belle, explaining. Noticing the other adventurers' stares, she realized Belle had just become famous, for something he'd definitely hate. Oh, that's fine then, that's fine. Relieved to hear Lily's words, Belle relaxed, after all, she was still so young. What else could happen? Let's go, Lord Belle. Lily kicked Belle's shin, hoisted her huge pack, and headed for the dungeon. Wait for me, Lily. Belle hurried after her, and side by side they walked toward the dungeon. As they went deeper, monsters' roars began to sound and the once dense crowd thinned until only the two of them remained. Which floor are we heading to today, Lord Belle? Behind him, Lily looked up and asked curiously. The 8th today. After Lady Hestia updated my status yesterday I've grown a lot stronger, so I want to try a deeper floor, and today there won't be any of Teacher Qiming's leftover magic stones to pick up. Belle drew the Hestia blade at his waist and cautiously watched the surroundings as he answered softly. I'll earn plenty today too. Lily nodded, staying close behind Belle while keeping an eye out for sudden monsters. So Belle cut down the monsters that appeared, Lily gathered the dropped magic stones and loot while supporting him, and the pair gradually advanced deeper into the dungeon. A dozen minutes after they left, a group cloaked entirely in black arrived. One of them knelt, examining the footprints Belle and Lily had left behind. He pressed a finger to a print, then brought it to his nose. It's Lily and that white-haired brat. From the scent, the blood berserker isn't with them. The cloaked man lifted his head, revealing the beast man adventurer from Soma Familia who'd robbed Lily the night before. Of course the blood berserker isn't with them, our scout on the 18th floor saw him head into the deep levels. Beside him, another survivor from last night grinned, certain everything was under control. Move. We'll teach that naive white-haired brat what despair is. Don't kill him yet. Grab that supporter girl Lily, humiliate her in front of him, then kill her. We can't let last night's embarrassment go unpaid. The beast man adventurer's face twisted in a hideous grin, not just the white-haired brat and Lily, he'd make even the blood berserker suffer before dying. The dungeon isn't a place where raw strength lets you do whatever you want. Haha, Yade, you promised. When the time comes, that little prum is mine first. A black-cloaked man stepped out behind Yade of Soma Familia, his face beneath the hood filthy with lewd, twisted hunger. Relax, you'll get her first, and your reward won't be short. I only ask one thing, those two brats must die, and no one can find out. After speaking, Yade pulled his hood back over his face, hiding it completely. Have confidence, we don't want a top-tier adventurer hunting us either. Behind him, 7 or 8 cloaked adventurers chuckled softly. They'd done this plenty of times, those who didn't know the drill were already dead. Move, catch up, and when we're sure no one's around, we strike. Yade glanced at the others, said nothing more, and followed Belle and Lily's scent. Seconds after they left, the shadow beside the wall began to warp and swell. A figure stepped out of it, watching them leave with a cold smile. I hope you'll help Belle grow, otherwise your deaths will be unsightly. Lu Qiming's lips curled in a smirk as he sank back into the shadow, tailing them. He'd recently discovered this use of instant shadow, melding into shadows to move swiftly. Dungeon, 8th floor. In the dark passage, faint light from fluorite stones cast a dim glow, offering just enough to see. Lord Bell, watch your step. Lily suddenly shouted. Behind Bell, a one-horned, blood-eyed rabbit rammed toward him while he fought ant monsters. Hearing her warning, Bell leapt aside without hesitation. Mid-air he twisted, kicked off the wall, and swept the Hestia blade in a crescent arc. Roar. Screech. In an instant the horned rabbit and ant monsters were cleaved in two, dissolving into ash. Clink, clink. As magic stones hit the ground, Bell landed neatly and finished off the last few monsters with swift swings of the Hestia blade. Thanks, Lily, you saved me. Bell picked up the stones at his feet and handed them to the worried Lily. It's nothing. If Lord Bell got hurt, I'd be troubled too. Lily accepted the stones, crouched to collect them, and, out of Bell's sight, tucked a crimson short sword back into her clothes. Before long the two had gathered every magic stone. Lord Bell, shall we keep hunting? Let's rest first, it's almost mealtime. Saying so, Bell sat on a nearby rock, opened a bento, took out a piece and offered it to Lily. Here, someone gave it to me. Thank you very, Lord Bell, watch out. Lily had just accepted the sandwich when she spotted 3 arrows flying at Bell from behind and cried out. Instantly Bell spun around, raising his arm to block based on the arrows, whistle. Clang clang clang. All 3 arrows struck the bracer on his forearm. Not bad, brat, catching my arrows. From the darkness, a group of black-robed figures emerged. At the front, crossbow in hand and a vicious grin on his face, was the Soma Familia adventurer named Yade. It's you lot, what do you want? Bell recognized the man at a glance, the very thug who had robbed Lily last night. What was he doing here? What for? Ha ha ha, obviously to finish you two off. Yade's demon-like laughter echoed across the entire 8th floor as he glared at Bell and Lily with hatred-filled eyes. Oi, Yade, quit the chatter, grab these brats already. I can't wait any longer. A robed man stepped out, tongue licking his lips, lustful gaze sliding first over Lily, then Bell. Yade, when we start torturing the kid, let me go first. Hey, I'll train him nice and proper. Fine, you can have your fun in a bit. Yade glanced back at the man, picturing that innocent kid broken by the pervert's hands made his thirst for revenge sore. Weren't you saying you knew you were wrong? Why? Bell stared in disbelief. The man who had wept and sworn to turn over a new leaf last night was now out for revenge, and aimed at Lily too. Was I really the one who was wrong? Facing those sneering figures, Bell began to doubt everything he'd done. Boom. A colossal fireball suddenly shot toward Yade's group, slamming into them. Lord Bell, run. Find Lord Qiming, then you'll be safe. Lily, silent until now, stowed her magic sword, grabbed Bell, and spun him toward the distance. Seconds later the flames died, Yade and the others reappeared, their black robes scorched and tattered. Thud. A charred corpse hit the ground. Yade had hurled the loudmouth who'd threatened Bell into the fire as a meat shield at the last instant. Murderous intent smoldered in Yade's eyes as he stared at the fleeing pair. Lily, when I catch you I'll make you beg for death. After them. Yade sprang forward first, the rest spared the corpse a glance and followed. Lord Bell, what do we do? Lily glanced back. All their pursuers were at least level 2, far faster, and Bell was carrying her. Escape was impossible. Lily. Bell looked back, eyes hardening. He tightened his grip and flung Lily forward with all his strength. Go on ahead. I'll hold them, then catch up. Midair, Lily watched Bell smile at her before turning his back. Thud. Lord Bell. Lily rolled across the ground, scrambled up, and screamed at the boy standing with his back to her. But Bell never looked back. He planted himself, watching Yade's group race closer. Lord Bell, catch. Seeing this, Lily hurled her magic sword to Bell, spun, and dashed down another passage. She had to find Lu Kiming or any adventurer willing to help before Bell fell. In the corridor, Bell caught the blade, gaze lingering on Lily's retreating form. Lily, I'm sorry, all this is my fault. I'll make sure you get out safe. Let her escape. Don't make me laugh. By then Yade's party had caught up. They burst into laughter at Bell's words. Hey, kid, you don't think this is everyone, do you? The moment we spotted you two, I posted men on every exit. Today both of you die here. Yade drew the long blade at his waist and leapt, the weapon howling as it cleaved toward Bell. What did you say? Bell's expression vanished. The thought that his mistake might kill Lily turned his gentle eyes icy. He flipped his short sword and slashed upward. Ultimate kill slash. Crack. Blades met. In Yade's horrified stare, his own sword was severed, the dark edge racing for his throat. Midair, survival instinct forced him to twist aside. Aargh. An arm and half a shoulder spun through the air, blood spraying as Yade crashed down, writhing and howling. A flicker of pity crossed Bell's eyes, but remembering the price of his softness, he raised his foot toward Yade's skull. Die, brat. Before Bell could finish him, Yade's companions arrived, striking together. Normally they'd cheer his demise, or pile on. But not now, the man hadn't paid them yet, he couldn't die. Boom. Under their combined assault, Bell was flung backward, slamming into the wall, blood dripping from his wounds. Cough. Bell wrenched himself out of the crater, swayed upright, and coughed up blood. Fool kid, I'm going to kill you. The grievously wounded Yade rose again. The potion he'd guzzled had healed most injuries, though the severed arm had been shattered when his mate saved him. Without a word, Bell pulled the top-grade potion Lu Kiming had given him, crunched the vial, and drank. His wounds closed at a speed visible to the eye. A high-tier healing potion, how could that kid have one? The group gaped as Bell fully recovered in seconds. Such elixirs were reserved for top-tier adventurers. No low-level rookie used one in the upper floors. After all, a day's hunting up here earned barely 10,000 valis, while one high potion cost 150,000 valis. Even elite familias balked at the waste. Don't panic. So what if he's healed? He's only level 1 and we're all level 2, no way we lose. First to kill the kid wins his short sword. Go. Yade glared at the Hestia blade in Bell's grip. His carelessness had nearly cost him his life, and capturing the boy alive with that weapon would cost even more. His teammates wouldn't accept that, so the kid had to die. Burning my lifespan for stockpile, gotta hit the shelves. Ha! Crouched slightly by the wall, Bell watched the men charging him, his gaze turning ice cold. Arc flash. Bell vanished on the spot. A streak of light flashed through the dark passage, moonbright yet frigid. How? I'm LV2. Reappearing behind the black-robed group, Bell spun and flicked his blade, sending a crimson arc that painted a thin red line across the ground. Two adventurers in black robes lay convulsing, clutching their throats, eyes clinging to life while fearing death. So this is how the ones I butchered felt before they died. One of them strained to pull a top-grade healing potion from the pouch at his waist, his last lifeline. The instant it left his fingers, Yade snatched it, crushed the vial in his teeth, and swallowed the shards right in front of the man's despairing eyes. TCH. Dying scum wanting to waste this, yet you wouldn't use it to save me earlier. Still unsatisfied, Yade kicked the corpse twice. Enough. Kill that brat first, something's off about him. Another man hauled Yade back, gaze locked warily on Bell. Across from them, Bell stepped backward into the nearest shadow, melting into it. Had the man looked away, Bell would have vanished entirely. He's an assassin. Yade cursed and lunged, but Bell had already disappeared into the gloom. Hell. How can that kid be an assassin? Swearing, Yade backed against a companion, weapons ready. Who knew? Assassins don't stand around waiting, they ambush. Now only Yade still wanted to fight, the rest wanted out. A supposedly common LV-1 adventurer had turned into a monster. He'd faced them head-on, killed 2, then gone to ground. Who the hell was the real level 1 here? 5 battered men pressed back to back in the gloom, flinching at every sound. Come out and fight fair, you coward. Under the pressure of darkness and death, one of them finally snapped and shouted. A sword flashed, a head soared, eyes wide with disbelief. Ignoring their fallen comrade, the survivors hacked at the spot where the blade had gleamed. Stone exploded, but Bell, hidden in the shadows, remained untouched. From their blind spots he mirrored their every move, biding his time for the next opening. He wanted to finish them quickly and chase after Lily. But his last top-grade potion was for Lily if she got hurt. He had to whittle these men down slowly. An instant later Bell's eyes sharpened and his short sword whipped out. SSHH. Steel flashed, another head flew. Thud. Yate's body hit the floor, severed head staring in terror and regret. Why? He's only a level 1 adventiver, this can't be. Arg. The last 3 panicked, blasting wildly, their ultimate skills cratered the floor, the helpless dread driving them insane. In the dark, Bell watched silently, a ripple passing through his heart. But he would show no mercy again. Teacher Kimming was right. Mercy to the enemy is cruelty to yourself, only dead enemies are good enemies. Meanwhile, Lily sprinted toward the upper levels, shouting for any adventurer who might save Bell. Aha, if it isn't our supporter Miss Lily Deand. Where are you rushing off to? A figure blocked her path, smirking with undisguised mockery. Eris, why are you here? Lily backed away step by step. Waiting to see who'd try to escape, of course. Eris closed in, his grin turning twisted. Thought the white-haired brat would run and leave you as bait. Clever girl, if we hadn't posted guards at the exits, you might have made it. Lord Eris, whatever do you mean? Lily doesn't understand. Stalling for time, she racked her brain. She had to escape. Lord Bell was waiting. Hey, no matter. You haven't forgotten last night, have you? With that, Eris lunged, seized her throat, and lifted her, his leering face inches from hers. Right, Lady Lily. Still struggling, Lily raised her wrist, face flushed but calm. SSHH. 3 bolts shot from the mini crossbow strapped to her wrist straight at Eris's face. Arg. I'll kill you. Blood streaming, Eris yanked the quarrel from his eye, smashed it to the ground, and drew his longsword. Die. The blade swept toward her neck. No, you die. A warm arm wrapped around Lily. Eris froze, sword raised, killing intent still blazing in his eyes. The next instant the sword shattered and Eris split in 2, blood and entrails spilling out. Lord Kimming. Realizing who held her, Lily burst into tears. Lord Kimming, please save Lord Bell, he stayed behind for me. Relax, here comes Bell now. Lu Kimming wiped her tears and pointed, a blood-soaked figure was sprinting toward them. In the corridor, Bell forced his grievously wounded body to run this way. Originally he wouldn't have been hurt so badly, but the 3 survivors, desperate to live, had just told him the man blocking their path was Aris, one of the people Bell had spared the night before. Worried sick about Lily, Bell chose to fight through. At the cost of grave injuries he charged head-on and wiped out all 3 Level-2 adventurers. Afterward, still anxious for Lily, he downed a vial of panacea he'd pulled from their pockets and rushed straight here. Lord Bell. From Lu Kimming's arms Lily saw the blood-soaked yet running Bell, leapt down and sprinted toward him. Lily. Are you all right? Bell hugged the girl in delight. Blood covered his eyes so he could barely make out another figure beside her, presumably her rescuer. He would thank the man properly later. Whoever it was looked strangely familiar. TCH, Bell, you let a handful of Level-2 scrubs beat you half to death. None of us peerless assassins are that pathetic. Lu Kimming's familiar voice loosened Bell's taut nerves. The badly wounded boy collapsed into Lily's arms. Lord Bell. Lord Bell. Lily cried, cradling the unconscious, blood-drenched Bell. Easy, Lily, make him drink these. Lu Kimming stepped over and handed her a top-grade healing potion and a stamina draft. Thank you, Lord Kimming. Lily took them, tilted Bell's head and poured the liquids down his throat. As he instinctively swallowed, his wounds closed and color returned to his once pale face. Lord Kimming, why isn't Lord Bell waking up? Seeing Bell fully restored yet still unconscious, Lily looked up at Lu Kimming. He's just exhausted. A good sleep and he'll be fine. Come on, Lily, let's head back. Lu Qiming hoisted Belle onto his back and started toward the upper floors. Yes. Lily hurried after him. That evening the unconscious Belle slowly opened his eyes. A familiar ceiling. Belle, you're awake. Lord Belle, you finally woke up. Hestia and Lily, seated at the bedside, leaned in with worry. Belle, does anything still hurt? Lord Belle, are you feeling better? Belle, greeted by the two faces, and an unrestricted view of Hestia's chest from his angle, scooted backward in a hurry. Gee goddess, Lily, I'm fine, really. Only then did he look around. The familiar basement, Hestia Familia's home. Yet the figure he sought was nowhere in sight. Goddess, where's Teacher Qiming? He went out. So, Belle, what on earth happened? Hestia sat squarely in front of him, expression serious. That noon Lu Qiming had carried the blood-soaked Belle home with teary-eyed Lily in tow, leaving Hestia stunned. Only after Qiming swore Belle was merely unconscious had she calmed down. Qiming changed Belle's clothes, laid him on the bed and muttered, so even the protagonist isn't that big, mine's bigger. Once composed, Hestia pressed Qiming for details, but he only said, ask him when he wakes, and left, claiming he had errands. Hestia then turned to Lily, yet the girl offered nothing, simply keeping vigil by the bed. Left with no choice, Hestia sat and waited as well. Goddess, I killed people today. Looking at her, Belle recalled the men he'd slain. He knew they deserved it, yet the first kill still filled him with confusion and pain. You killed someone, Belle. Startled at first, Hestia noticed his anguished eyes and gently embraced him, stroking his head. Then tell me, do you regret killing them? I don't, goddess, but why did they promise to change and then? He recounted everything from the previous night and the events of that day. Belle, you did nothing wrong. Hestia smiled with maternal warmth, divine aura rising as she spoke earnestly. Really, goddess? Yes. You protected your comrades. Those men were no longer human, monsters in human skin. Sometimes killing is necessary to guard those you love. You didn't slaughter the innocent. By ending them you saved many more. Belle stared at her, expecting reprimand, yet she approved of his actions. Lord Belle, Lady Hestia is right. By killing them you protected me and whoever they might have hurt next, Lily added. Just then Lu Qiming walked in carrying a bag of food. After confirming Belle was safe he'd gone to the Adventurers Guild and invited Aina out for a meal, partly to dodge this very scene, since comforting people wasn't his forte. He'd rather treat Aina and ask her to counsel Belle later, while bringing back something good to eat. Awake, Belle. Good. Come eat. Lily, goddess, you too. He set the bag on the table and turned to them. Yes, Teacher Qiming. Coming, I'm starving. Okay. Hestia, reverting to her usual cheerful self, dragged Belle along. Half an hour later, Lu Qiming and Belle exited the dungeon and sat on a patch of open ground in front of the ruined church. Calm down, Belle. Leaning against a rock, Lu Qiming gazed at the moon and asked. Yeah. Thank you, Teacher Qiming. Belle drew the Hestia blade at his waist and gently ran his fingers along it, the memory of its edge slicing throats still lingered. Yet now he felt no hesitation at all. Starlight shimmered in the night sky, silver-white moonlight bathing the land. Beside a ruined church, two youths, one lying, one sitting, were lost in thought. In the moonlight, Lu Qiming smiled at Belle. The once simple boy had begun to mature tonight, taking one step closer to his heroic dream. Let's head back. If we stay any longer, our goddess will worry. Yes, Teacher Qiming. Also, Belle, focus on clearing the dungeon and reach level 2. Once you do, we can start the next phase of the assassin legacy. Under the moonlight, Lu Qiming patted Belle's shoulder and walked back toward the basement with a smile. Yes, sir. Behind him, Belle lifted his head in delight and hurried after the departing Qiming. The next morning, Lu Qiming climbed off the floor with a face full of despair. He glanced at Belle, still dead asleep on the sofa, Hestia on his left and Lily on his right, looking every inch a winner in life. By comparison, poor Lu Qiming, who'd spent the night alone on a makeshift bed, looked positively pitiful. Belle, wake up. The morning's the best part of the day, why waste it sleeping? Lu Qiming stepped forward, yanked the still drowsy Belle upright, and gave him a vigorous shake. Ah, what's wrong, Teacher Qiming? Barely awake, Bell opened his eyes to find Lu Qiming staring at him solemnly and instinctively thought something serious had happened. Time to work, blockhead. He tossed Bell back onto the sofa and strode outside. Yesterday, worried about Bell and Lily, he'd shadowed them all day. Today he had to make up for the monsters he'd missed. Besides, he hadn't bombed the dungeon in a whole day, time to catch up. 2 floors today. On the sofa, Bell rubbed the back of his head as he watched his teacher leave. Something felt off. This morning Qiming reminded him a little of how he himself had felt that night watching Qiming drink tea. A mix of envy and longing. Lord Bell, did something happen? Lily, now awake, looked at him curiously. Nothing. Teacher Qiming wants me up early for the dungeon. Get ready, Lily, we're heading out. Bell decided to keep his guess to himself. If Qiming found out, he'd definitely get a beating. Lord Bell, could I have today off? The Familia is holding a meeting, I have to attend. I know it breaks our contract, and I'll accept any penalty. Lily lowered her head, afraid to look at Bell. In the past, other adventurers had cursed or even hit her for asking leave. Hey, don't worry about that. Bell quickly sat beside her, waving away her concerns. More importantly, I'm sorry, Lily. I didn't notice. From now on, if you need rest, just tell me. Looking at Bell's sincere face, Lily's heartbeat sped up and a faint blush touched her cheeks. Oh, here's your magic sword back. Thanks for lending it yesterday. He returned the blade she'd tossed him the day before. Magic sword. Lily stared first at the weapon, then at Bell in disbelief. He hadn't used it yesterday and actually meant to give it back. Right. Thanks for lending me something so valuable, Lily. Unaware of her reaction, Bell pressed the sword into her arms. Then he noticed his lunchbox and remembered he'd been so injured yesterday he'd forgotten to return Sir's box. I'm off, Lily. See you tomorrow at the dungeon entrance. See you, Lord Bell. On the sofa, Hestia rolled over, one leg slipped off, revealing a hint of white cotton between her thighs and the greater part of her snow-white chest. But Bell, already upstairs, missed the view. Lily expressionlessly straightened Hestia's posture and left the basement. She wasn't worried about yesterday's deaths causing trouble, they'd never speak of it, and every other witness had died in the dungeon. Besides, adventurers die every day, everyone's used to it. At the hostess of fertility. Early in the morning, everyone had stopped work, smiling as they watched 2 people talking together. Miss Sir, I'm sorry. Something came up yesterday and I couldn't return this on time. Bell bowed, holding out the lunchbox apologetically. It's fine. But are you all right today? Sir took the box and smiled. I'm still heading to the dungeon, but I wanted to bring your lunchbox back first. You're not taking a break today? Sir asked curiously. I'll come back early tonight and rest. By the way, what do you do on your days off? Reading, I guess. Chin in hand, she considered, then answered uncertainly. Reading, but all the books the goddesses have are really hard to understand. Bell scratched his head in frustration. He'd tried Hestia's books to teach himself magic and couldn't make sense of them. Modern magic even a goblin can understand. He noticed a black book on the counter beside Sir. Interested. Sir turned to the tome and explained. A customer left it and doesn't seem likely to reclaim it. If you'd like, I can lend it to you. Smiling, she lifted the magic book and offered it to him. Really? It won't vanish from a glance. Just bring it back when you're done. Thank you, Miss Sir. I'll return it as soon as I finish. Gratefully, Bell stowed the magic book in his pack, planning to leave the dungeon early and study it. Maybe he really could learn magic. Then goodbye, Miss Sir. Wait, take this with you. She called him back and produced another lunchbox from beneath the counter. Thanks. Bell accepted it and dashed out. No need to thank me, Bell. Watching him leave, Sir wore a faint smile, yet something about it differed from her usual gentleness, bearing instead a hint of Freya. Dungeon 23rd Layer. The once emerald forest had been leveled for the most part. In the clearing, dozens of monsters howled as they charged into the distance, yet within a few meters every one was either frozen into statues or incinerated by flame. Done. Time to raise my stats, then try to fill most of the express bar today. Lu Qiming casually hoisted the greatsword onto his shoulder. Today again had become a 2-meter long, half-meter wide blade, the feeling of cleaving down and shaking the earth with a casual swing was still pretty satisfying. System, level up. Ding. Congratulations, host. Your Adventurer class stats have risen from S 1999-1999 to SS 2000-2999, all attributes plus 0.1. A wave of warmth washed through his body as Liu Qiming stretched. Ever since his Adventurer class had reached S rank, the accumulation had slowed dramatically, but at his high grinding speed he still managed to rank up today. One more level and he could prepare to accomplish a great deed's advancement. At that moment, footsteps and voices came from the 23rd layer entrance. It really is incredible. Sword Princess and I aren't even in the same familia, yet we can still work together. In the party, a black-haired dog girl gazed admiringly at the blonde girl beside her. Ice nodded, then asked curiously. Why do you all wear cloaks in town? Ah. It's because lots of things can't be made public. If our real levels and the floors we've reached were exposed. Lulun. Ahead, a blue-haired glasses girl turned back, looking at the dog girl Lulun with a stern face. Really, have you no ability to learn? Sorry, Aphius, I let it slip by accident. Lulun rubbed the back of her head sheepishly and glanced at Ice. Sword Princess, just forget what you just heard, okay? Sigh, Lulun, get the map out. We're almost at the 23rd layer. In a moment we'll head straight for the 24th at top speed. Up ahead, Aphius couldn't help sighing as the Familia captain, then called out. Yes. Lulun hurriedly pulled a map from her bag and handed it to Aphius in front, while glancing up at the exit not far away. Lulun, what's wrong? Aphius asked helplessly, watching Lulun freeze while clutching the map. Something's happened. Behind them, Ice was the first to notice the change on the 23rd layer. Pale green wind instantly wrapped around her and she shot out like an arrow. Sword Princess, wait. Aphius chased after Ice, and the rest of the team raised their weapons and followed. When they rushed outside, they saw the drastically transformed 23rd layer, and the Sword Princess they'd worried about was already talking with a black-haired, black-eyed man. Sword Princess, who's this? The dog girl Lulun shrank behind her captain Aphius, staring fearfully at Liu Qiming. Her instincts screamed that the man before Sword Princess was dangerous, extremely dangerous. Endless killing intent surged within that youth's body, countless monsters' death wails echoed in her ears. This is my companion, Liu Qiming. Ice glanced puzzled at the frightened Lulun and explained. Blood Berserker Liu Qiming, why are you here? Aphius recognized Liu Qiming at once and regarded him warily. Their commission this time was secret, so why was he here? Me. I'm leveling up. What else would I be doing? Also, I'm an assassin, not a berserker. Liu Qiming looked speechlessly at the guarded Aphius. So what if you're a woman with plot armor, just a B cup and already this arrogant? Leveling up. Qiming, did you receive a blessing? Ice looked curiously at Liu Qiming. Ever since the monsterphilia she hadn't seen him, she'd assumed he'd been staying with Tia drinking tea. Yeah, on the day of monsterphilia I joined Hestia Familia. Lately I've been grinding express in the dungeon. What brings you here, Ice? As he spoke, Liu Qiming let the longsword on his shoulder shift back. If word got out that he'd been swinging a 2-meter greatsword at monsters, the title of berserker would stick for good. I took a commission to investigate the piercing of the 17th floor a few days ago and the recent changes on the 24th layer. Hey, Sword Princess, you can't tell him. Aphius tried to stop Ice from blurting out their purpose, but before she could finish, Ice had told Liu Qiming everything. Investigating the piercing of the 17th floor and the changes on the 24th layer, I seem to know a teeny tiny bit. Hearing Ice, Liu Qiming blinked, then remembered what he'd done a few days ago and gave an embarrassed laugh. Qiming, you know. Ice tilted her head in puzzlement, and Aphius's group likewise stared at him. Could they really get key clues before even reaching their destination? Yeah, the piercing on the 17th floor a few days ago, that was me. I went there to grind express and ran into a respawned Goliath. I got a bit too excited and hit too hard. As for the changes on the 24th layer, I set off a firework when I left. Ha! You did all of it. Aphius rushed up and grabbed Liu Qiming by the collar. Yeah, when you're grinding monsters you can't help but get a little excited. And your idea of, a little excited, is this. Aphius let go of Liu Qiming in exasperation, pointing at the half-destroyed 23rd layer before them. Of course not. I held back more than half my strength here, otherwise the dungeon consciousness would already be cleaning up the mess. Lu Qiming waved it off, then asked. You said the 24th layer changed, what exactly happened? He looked curiously at Appius. He remembered that the first time he wrecked a floor it had fully regenerated in half a day, why would there still be problems after so long? Could it be like in the original story, the pantry entrance blocked, monsters gathering because they couldn't feed? But Oliveros was already dead, that crimson-haired woman wouldn't be so reckless. The 24th layer has become a lava environment with entirely new monsters. Our Familia was asked by the Adventurers Guild to investigate. Appius studied Lu Qiming carefully, and when she realized he really didn't know, she explained. What? A lava environment and brand new monsters. Didn't the dungeon consciousness clean up after my firework? Lu Qiming was stunned. What was the dungeon consciousness trying to pull? Only 2 days left, December 1st, then it goes premium. Date I here, my stockpile has officially broken past 20 chapters, almost at my goal of 30. Hope you all drain me dry on launch day, not a single drop left. What do you mean the dungeon consciousness didn't clean up after your fireworks show? Appius caught the implication in Lu Qiming's words at once and grabbed him. Explain. It's nothing, really. I'll head down to the 24th layer with you in a bit. Lu Qiming turned away. Guilty, he couldn't meet Appius's eyes. His stunt had forced them to investigate, but he didn't regret blowing up the dungeon one bit. Blowing up the dungeon, big deal. Since you're involved, Qiming, you might as well come along. Appius agreed. The matter concerned him, and with both her and the Sword Princess present they'd be safer if things went south. Let's move. Lu Qiming waved ice over and strode straight for the 24th layer entrance. Moments later the party reached the gate. Waves of heat rolled from the passage, the dog girl instinctively opened her mouth and let her tongue loll out. Lulun, what are you doing? Appius glared at the dog girl, couldn't she keep up appearances? She was embarrassing the entire Hermes Familia. I can't help it, it's instinct. Lulun pulled her tongue back, but within seconds she was drenched in sweat and it flopped out again. Sigh. Appius sighed and looked away, choosing her companion's health over the Familia's dignity. The deeper they advanced into the 24th layer, the more everyone except Lu Qiming and Ice sweated and gulped water. It's roasting. What happened down here? After a swig, Appius handed her canteen to Lulun. The dog girl had emptied hers halfway through the trek. Thanks, Appius. Lulun gulped gratefully, then glanced at her tail. Its tip had dragged on the ground and now looked singed. Pick up the pace, we're almost there. Ice spoke up. Ahead they could already glimpse the 24th layer proper. No one spoke again, they simply quickened their steps. 1 minute later they stepped out onto the 24th layer. What is this? Before them stretched an endless lake of magma. Monsters occasionally surfaced, sending ripples across the lava. Dozens of roads a few meters wide cut across the lake, and on them crimson stone giants prowled, wreathed in flame. TCH, the dungeon consciousness wised up, but you think this stops me from blowing it up? Lu Qiming gritted his teeth at the completely remade 24th layer. It had been redesigned just to foil his demolition plans. So what if he couldn't nuke the 24th layer? There were plenty of other floors. A true bombing pro never yields to such petty obstacles. Watch out. Ice drew the sword of despair and stared at the magma lake. A colossal shape burst from the lava and lunged straight at them. Batojutsu slash. A flash of steel, a massive head thudded at their feet, the headless body collapsing behind it. A snake. Appius eyed the head uncertainly. Ordinary snakes don't swim in magma. Forget taxonomy, wipe them all out. Lu Qiming stepped forward, grinning. Across the lake the lava churned as serpentine monsters surfaced, the stone giants also charged, bodies igniting. Ice blade, fluctuation soared. A freezing gale howled through the scorching hell, thick ice glazed the entrance's magma, steam erupting everywhere. Lu Qiming's blade swept outward. The vapor turned to drifting snow, white frost raced across the ground, and in the blink of an eye the entire 24th layer became a snowy plain, the boiling magma frozen solid. As far as the eye could see, monsters stood trapped as ice sculptures. Cracks rang out, the statues shattered, magic stones and drop items clattering across the frost. Phew. Sheathing his sword, Liu Qiming exhaled and stepped back beside Ice, senses on high alert. Qiming, what's wrong? Ice noticed his tension at once and asked softly. Nothing. Just don't stray far from me. He scanned the area. The dungeon consciousness hadn't shown up to sweep. Was it still recovering from last time? He tossed that thought aside. An entity on par with the gods wouldn't be sidelined by something so minor. Yet its absence left him uneasy. The Hephaestus Familia members finally reacted. Lulun's fur bristled in fright as she stammered, pointing ahead in disbelief. What just happened? Am I dreaming? But it's cold. Smack. The burly man beside her slapped himself so hard his cheek swelled instantly. Oren, what was that for? Appius turned to him. Just checking if I was dreaming. Looks like I'm not. Oren rubbed his swollen face, staring at the snowfield that had been molten rock seconds earlier. Single quote. Appius said nothing. She too had wondered if it was a dream, but the biting wind left no doubt this was real. But can an adventurer really do something like this? For the first time she questioned her profession. Qiming, did you learn magic? Ice leaned close, her usually blank face brimming with curiosity. Magic. Nope. It's just a sword skill. Liu Qiming reckoned he was telling the truth. Though the Celestial Emperor's techniques carried ice, fire, and lightning, he performed them with a sword, so they counted as sword skills. A sword skill. Ice glanced at the sword of despair at her waist. If it's a sword skill, maybe I can do it too. So, are you still investigating the 24th layer? Liu Qiming looked at Appius and the others. The cause of the changes stood right in front of them. We'll gather some data and head back. Appius shot him a speechless glance. Investigate what? The culprit was right here. They'd collect information and report to their client. A frozen snowfield, goose feather snow kept drifting from the sky, and on the ground the purple magic stone stood out starkly against the endless white. At this moment Liu Qiming bent down, picked up a magic stone in front of him, and measured it with his fist. Too small. I don't want it. Dog girl, that one's for you. The next second the stone traced a graceful arc and landed in Lululun's hand. I can really have it. Tail wagging furiously, Lululun's drooped ears shot upright as she stared at the stone. My backpack's too small. These cheap ones are yours. Thank you, you're a good person. Awoo, woof. Thanking him, she happily tucked it away. Ever since the 24th layer turned into a snowfield she'd felt oddly excited, even wanting to howl at the sky. Not far off, Appius, busy gathering intel on the 24th layer, glanced over, saw nothing amiss, and went back to work, pocketing nearby stones and drops. Liu Qiming had already said anything he didn't need was theirs, no reason to refuse free loot. Half an hour later everyone except Ice gathered at the entrance, faint smiles on their faces. On top of their pay they'd pocketed a tidy bonus. Where's the sword princess? Why isn't she back? Appius looked around puzzled. Even the slowest had returned. Someone of the sword princess's caliber couldn't possibly have met trouble. There, she's coming. Liu Qiming lifted his gaze. Ice raced toward them, wind swirling around her. The next floor is normal, only the 24th layer changed. Ice landed and, before anyone could ask, stated calmly. Worried the lower floors might also have changed, she'd gone ahead to scout. Looks like only the 24th layer is affected. Appius rubbed his chin and nodded. All intel was collected, time to report to their employer. Let's head back and file our report. Ice answered softly, stepped forward, and eyed the bulging backpack on Liu Qiming's back. Qiming, are you leaving too? I'm done for today, my pack's full. You lot go first, I still need to confirm something. He glanced toward the dungeon's depths. After the chaos he'd caused, the dungeon consciousness hadn't reacted at all. He'd expected to be ambushed the moment he stepped into the middle floors. Yet he'd fought all the way to the 23rd floor and completely wrecked the 24th, and still the dungeon consciousness stayed silent, proof something was off. Ice nodded, turned, and headed up. If Liu Qiming needed help he'd say so. Since he wanted them gone first, it had to be important. Appius and the rest bade him farewell and followed Ice without further questions. An hour later Liu Qiming rose from an ice-sculpted chair. By now Ice and the others should have reached the upper floors. Time to begin. Hey, let's see you endure this. With a cold laugh he gripped his longsword, Peerless activated, every stat multiplied tenfold. Terrifying mana blasted everything away, a solid pillar of light piercing the 24th layer. Blazing surge, fluctuation soared. Solar gold flames roared to life along the silver blade, the surrounding snow vaporized in an instant. The next second he slashed toward the distance. Boom! A golden sun reappeared in the 24th layer, hundreds of times larger than the first, expanding rapidly. The ground isolating nearby floors melted, yet the sun kept surging downward. Rewind 10 minutes. Deep in the dungeon, Ottar walked calmly downward, ignoring the monsters around him. They, in turn, acted as if they couldn't see him, letting him pass unhindered. He found nothing odd in this, as though he'd known it would happen, and simply continued deeper step by step. Finally he arrived before a palace, utterly ignoring the top-tier monsters guarding it, and strode inside to face the woman on the throne. We meet again. Have you considered our goddess Freya's proposal? Ottar's towering figure stood motionless as he regarded the person above him. HMPH, Freya truly spares no cost for that fool. Very well, I agree. But won't you and your familia resent it? On the throne the woman lowered her gaze at the pigman. 4 days earlier this pigman had somehow reached her, offering to help her destroy Orario so her will could surface, even presenting a god's identity token as guarantee. She'd been about to kill him out of hand when curiosity stopped her. She asked why. His condition: merely capture, never kill. An adventurer named Lu Kiming. Once done, inform him, and the familia would fully aid her in raising Orario. She'd wondered who this Lu Kiming could be to make Freya, one of Orario's strongest familias, pay such a price, but a deal so blatantly in her favor was impossible to refuse, though caution made her tell him to return today. The very next day she met that fool Lu Kiming, who dared order her to clean up, and after she restored the 24th layer he destroyed it again. For our goddess, every member of the Freya familia is willing to give everything. Ottar, unaware of the dungeon consciousness's thoughts, simply stared resolutely. Is that so? The dungeon consciousness stepped down from the throne, a malicious smile curling her lips as she looked at Ottar. Then you won't mind if I beat that fool Lu Kiming half to death. As long as he's alive. Ottar blinked, then lifted his head and replied. HMPH. Go tell Freya to ready Orario's destruction, soon I'll deliver that fool to her. Understood. Ottar nodded and turned to leave. Hey, so-called gods and humans, prepare to greet. What the hell, that fool. Watching Ottar leave, the dungeon consciousness sneered, then glanced upward, cursed, and vanished on the spot. Above the 24th layer. Lu Kiming stood with folded arms, gazing downward. A colossal lava lake that pierced through 10 floors sprawled beneath him, countless magic stones rolled with the molten tides. Above the lake, melted rock cascaded like a waterfall, deepening the lake with every passing second. Looks like something really is wrong. Looking at the ruined dungeon, Lu Kiming's lips curled. Even if the dungeon consciousness itself, silver-haired little girl and all, swore she hadn't been scheming, he wouldn't believe a word. A few days ago I'd just broken through the upper floors, and it showed up instantly to repair the place, even rushing over the second I wrecked the 24th layer again. But more than 10 seconds have passed and it still hasn't reacted. Suddenly Lu Kiming's eyes narrowed. The once calm lava lake erupted, and magma arms reached for him midair. Ha ha ha. Too late. Go wash the floor for me. In the air he slashed apart the magma arms, lightning blazing around him into a spinning drill that shot upward and vanished from the 24th layer. 3 seconds later the dungeon consciousness appeared at the hole he'd drilled, but instead of rage it wore a cold smile. Enjoy yourself while you can. I don't believe you'll never set foot on the 50th floor. With that it began repairing the ruined floors. Whether Lu Kiming would go to the 50th floor didn't worry it. After he became an adventurer his need for experience had soared, and promotion required great deeds. And those only existed in the depths of the dungeon. Now it only needed to wait quietly for the moment he stepped onto the 50th floor, then that fool would have nowhere to run. As for waiting, time meant nothing to the dungeon consciousness that had lived for untold ages. 3 hours later the entire damage was mended, yet for some reason the consciousness restored the 24th layer to a lava environment once again. Just as it was about to leave, Ottar's figure entered its perception, followed by a strengthened Minotaur. Out of curiosity it glanced once, then smiled dismissively and vanished. It cared nothing about Ottar's plans, it only needed him to keep his promise once Lu Qiming was caught. Elsewhere, the lightning drill that was Lu Qiming sensed a familiar presence after breaking into the upper floors. He stopped and saw Bell happily fighting a pack of strengthened goblins. Minutes later Bell beheaded the last goblin and finally noticed Lu Qiming standing nearby. Teacher Qiming, what are you doing here? Bell looked puzzled. Normally Lu Qiming roamed the deep floors alone, why meet him up here today? Nothing special, my pack was full and my experience nearly capped, so I came back. Lu Qiming smiled, walking over while checking his status window. Experience gain had stopped, enough to reach rank SS, yet seeing that single point gained for assassin made his head ache. Upper and middle floor monsters barely dented his 6 billion experience bar, yet he couldn't head deeper, the instant he did the dungeon consciousness would hammer him mercilessly. Then his only choice would be to leave this world early, and for now he couldn't. The deep floors could wait until departure day. For now he'd farm adventurer job experience and gather magic stones for Valis in the middle floors. His adventurer rank was still low, so his strength had room to grow. Bell, heading back or? Lu Qiming shoved the thoughts aside and asked. Teacher Qiming, I'll go with you. Sir lent me a magic book today, I want to read it early. Would you like to see? As he spoke Bell pulled a black grimoire from his pack and offered it. No need, you keep it. Lu Qiming waved it away. He knew Freya had prepared it for Bell, once he read it the book would be ruined. Curious about magic he might be, but with his system, and money, he could inherit the mage job later or simply buy a book. All right, Teacher Qiming. Bell blinked, then realized that what was precious to him was easily obtainable for someone of Lu Qiming's power. He still thought it an ordinary spellbook, not a grimoire. After gathering the magic stones, the two left the dungeon together. At the Adventurers Guild they converted the stones into Valis, said goodbye to Aina, and headed for the Hestia Familia camp. Bell was impatient the whole way, mind full of magic, not even caring that he'd earned only 60,000 Valis to Lu Qiming's 60 million. Soon they were back in the basement. It was empty, Hestia was still at Hephaestus Familia working off Bell's 200 million Valis debt. Unaware, Bell plopped onto the sofa and eagerly opened the grimoire. Lu Qiming sat opposite, unable to see the pages yet curious, wondering if he should fetch one for himself later. Magic falls into two types: innate, tied to one's race, and acquired, awakened through the gods, blessing. Acquired magic is, in short, self-realization, interest, approval, hatred, admiration, awe, worship, oath, desire. The trigger always lies within oneself. As Bell read, the words vanished, power flowing into him, yet entranced, he didn't notice. Watching Bell turn pages by instinct while muttering, Lu Qiming smiled faintly. So that's it. Magic uses personal will to alter or connect to the world's rules, leveraging the elements. In the dim basement, a white-haired boy lay unconscious on a sofa, while a black-haired youth beside him smiled at him as if he'd just drugged his drink and was about to do something unspeakable. That was exactly the scene Hestia saw when she returned, though her thoughts didn't run in that direction at all. Qiming, what happened to Bell? Hestia asked, staring at Bell, who was dead asleep with a book clutched in his hand. Bell. He's awakening his own magic. Oh, just awakening magic. Wait, Qiming, did you say Bell is awakening magic? Hestia stared at Lu Qiming in disbelief. What on earth had happened that Bell was suddenly awakening magic? Ah, go, goddess. Just then, Bell on the sofa woke up. The first thing he saw upon opening his eyes was Hestia beside him. Huh. Bell suddenly realized he was lying down. He clearly remembered only just opening that magic book. How had he fallen asleep? Congratulations, Bell. You've awakened your own magic. Lu Qiming looked at the bewildered Bell and dropped a line that only deepened his confusion. So what exactly happened? Hestia was also lost. She turned to the smiling Lu Qiming and asked. Well, goddess, you'd better update Bell's status and ask him how it felt. At this point Lu Qiming also glanced curiously at Bell. He now roughly understood what this so-called magic was, but he still had no clue how Bell had awakened. In his eyes, Bell had simply read himself to sleep. Bell, strip. Hestia nodded in agreement with Lu Qiming's suggestion, Once the status was updated, everything would be clear. Bell blinked, not understanding what was going on, but obediently took off his shirt anyway. Every day after returning, the goddess updated his status, after all. On the bed, Hestia knelt behind Bell. A slender silver needle pricked her finger, a drop of crimson blood fell, a familiar light flared, and milky white divine characters appeared. Bell then told Hestia everything, from borrowing the book from Sir to how he'd fallen asleep just now. So, you read that dry, difficult book and then simply passed out. Seems so. How adorable. Listening to Bell, Hestia smiled, until she looked at the revealed divine text. Her smile froze and her jaw dropped. Goddess. On the bed, Bell turned his head at the frozen Hestia. Could it be magic? It manifested. What? It really appeared. Bell shot up in excitement, so suddenly that he flung Hestia off his back. Bell, calm down, it's just magic. Lu Qiming caught the nearly toppled Hestia and looked at Bell. Though he said that, a sliver of envy flickered in his heart. Tomorrow he'd go buy a book himself. Here, Bell. Hestia handed Bell his status sheet, then sat beside Lu Qiming and shot him a glare. Firebolt, so even the magic appeared. Was that skill's influence? After speaking, Hestia glared again at Lu Qiming. The person Bell admired was actually a man. What would happen in the future? What's wrong, goddess? Lu Qiming looked at Hestia, who'd just glared at him, and replayed her words. Could it be that Bell's object of admiration had really become him? Though that had been his original plan, the thought of a man admiring him, and living under the same roof, still sent a slight chill down his spine. Goddess, Mr. Qiming, magic. It's magic. I can use magic now. At this moment Bell, who'd been staring at his status sheet, shouted in excitement, beaming at them. Lu Qiming and Hestia exchanged glances. Hestia stood, walked over, patted the bed for Bell to sit, and began explaining everything about his magic. Lu Qiming watched the still thrilled Bell and tossed his earlier thought aside. Surely Bell wouldn't like him in that sense. After all, aren't girls much nicer? Before long Hestia had told Bell everything about his magic. Then she noticed the book Bell had tossed on the table, curiously opened it. Ah. What's wrong, goddess? On the bed, Bell, still imagining what casting magic would feel like, asked upon seeing Hestia freeze. A grimoire. In an instant Hestia understood why Bell had suddenly awakened magic. Grimoire. Exactly. Read it and, provided you have the aptitude, a magic will appear. That's a grimoire. Where did you get this? With that, Hestia looked at Bell in curiosity. Such top-tier magical items were extremely valuable, after all. I borrowed it at the tavern, someone had apparently left it behind, and Sir asked if I wanted to take a look. Realizing how precious it was, Bell figured Sir probably hadn't known either, he'd have to thank her properly tomorrow. Left behind by someone. Looking at Bell, who still didn't grasp the situation, Hestia clutched her head in despair. After owing Hephaestus Familia 200 million valis, was she about to incur even more debt? Is something wrong, goddess? Seeing Hestia's headache-stricken face, Bell hastily asked. Bell. Beside them, Lu Qiming watched Bell snatch the grimoire from Hestia, turn pale upon finding its pages now blank, and couldn't help a mischievous grin. The next second Bell, not even pausing for shoes, bolted outside. Bell, where are you going? Hestia called after the frantic Bell rushing out. First I'll apologize, then I'll figure out compensation. It's no use. Hestia yanked the grimoire from Bell's hand and looked at him gravely. Do you know how much a grimoire costs? It's worth a top-grade item from Hephaestus Familia, maybe even more. What? Color drained from Bell, his heart turned ice-cold. After all, even the worst first-class gear from Hephaestus Familia cost nearly 100 million valis, and if it was even pricier. Bell. Remember, you never read this book, just pretend that's the case. I'll think of something. Hestia patted Bell's shoulder, gave a big thumbs up, and beamed. Leave it to me. The next moment Hestia hugged the grimoire tight and dashed outside, determined to find a deserted corner to tear, burn, and bury it. No way was she taking on more crushing debt. You can't, goddess. Bell hurriedly grabbed Hestia before she could run out. Even if it took ages to repay, that wasn't the way. Don't stop me, Bell. Down here you sometimes have to play dirty, the world is more capricious than the gods, just let. As Hestia struggled toward the exit, a black card rimmed with gold appeared in front of her. Goddess, you really don't have to. We could each use one of these and toss it away without a care. Lu Qiming crouched on the stairs, smiling at the pair, his entire being radiating the light of money. On the stairs, the two who had been tugging at each other gradually stopped, their heads bobbing up and down in time with the card Lu Qiming was flicking. Goddess, let Belle go apologize properly tomorrow morning. As for us, we'll head to the Tower of Babel and buy a few magic books first. We can return one, or even two, later. Hestia answered in a daze, then flung her arms around Lu Qiming and burst into tears. Wah, I won't have to pile on any more debt. There. You're a goddess, remember. You can't cry in front of your children. Lu Qiming smiled faintly, gently patting Hestia's back. His goddess was truly adorable. At times mature and nurturing like a mother, at times childish, exactly why he joined Hestia Familia in the first place. I don't care, you're all my family, wah. Goddess. Behind them, Belle watched the sobbing Hestia and suddenly thought of his own Hestia blade. She just said no more debt, could it be because? Goddess, just now. Belle, put the magic book away for now. Go apologize at dawn, leave the rest to me. Lu Qiming caught on instantly and cut him off. Hestia never intended Belle to know yet, she'd been shouldering it alone. Yes, Teacher Qiming. Reading the look in Lu Qiming's eyes and seeing Hestia's tears, Belle's earlier excitement at unlocking magic cooled into calm resolve. It's all because I'm too weak. If I had Teacher's strength, Goddess wouldn't bear this alone. I've got to grow stronger. Meanwhile, Hestia lifted her tear-streaked face from Lu Qiming's embrace. Qiming, where did you get so many valis? She recognized the black card worth 1 billion valis but couldn't fathom how Lu Qiming, new to Orario, had amassed such wealth. This earned it on the last expedition with Loki Familia. Guess clearing floors 1 through 58 single-handedly pays pretty well. Thank you, Qiming. Hestia's heart ached as she studied his smile. She knew the life and death trials behind those valis, yet he'd offered them without hesitation for her and Belle. It's fine. Didn't you say we're family, Goddess? Startled by her gratitude, Lu Qiming guessed her thoughts, smiled, and gently ruffled her hair. All right, off to bed. He lifted Hestia lightly and carried her back to the basement, setting her on the bed. Good night, Goddess. Good night, Qiming, Belle. The basement light clicked off. A soft rustle signaled Lu Qiming returning to his futon, while Belle took the couch as usual. At dawn the next day, Belle dashed out clutching the spent magic book. Let's go, Goddess. Lu Qiming watched Belle's retreating figure, then turned to Hestia. Let's go. Today I'll show Hephaestus I've got the greatest kids in the world. Hands on hips, Hestia marched out with a proud hum. Sure. Chuckling, Lu Qiming hurried after the fully recovered Hestia, adorable either way, though he idly wondered how a cute enemy might look after a punch. Qiming, what are you doing? Hurry up. Outside the basement, Hestia called back to him. Coming. Lu Qiming locked up and stepped outside. The Tower of Babel, also called the Stairway to Heaven, was said to connect mortals with the heavens. Hestia tugged Lu Qiming into an elevator. They exited on the 7th floor and headed straight for the Hephaestus Familia shop. Hestia, you're late today. Inside, the red-haired beauty Hephaestus greeted her. I'm here to buy something today. Hands still on hips, Hestia glared at her divine friend. Mind your tongue, my kid's right here. She meant to repay the 200 million valis for Belle's Hestia blade herself, without Lu Qiming knowing. Buy something. Hestia, what? Hephaestus blinked. Since when could Hestia afford to shop here? Hello, Lady Hephaestus. I'm Lu Qiming of Hestia Familia. We're here for a few magic books. Lu Qiming stepped up beside Hestia and bowed slightly. Lu Qiming. Hephaestus finally noticed the youth beside Hestia. She'd sensed the terrifying strength beneath his slender frame and assumed he was just another adventurer buying gear. She hadn't known Hestia had any familia besides that Belle kid. Hestia, if I recall, this boy Lu Qiming was the one every god in Orario fought over not long ago, and he joined your familia. Hephaestus studied him. Black hair, black eyes, overwhelming power. She remembered the rumors her own captain had witnessed of a farcically one-sided battle. Kimming joined my familia a few days ago, he's super amazing. Hestia lifted her chin proudly at her stunned friend. Oh, you. Hephaestus shook her head at the gloating Hestia, then met Lu Kimming's eyes. Gods could sense hearts. Her captain had mentioned his tea habit, and she worried he'd joined Hestia for her child-faced, full-figured looks. Yet she felt none of that from him, only respect and familial affection. Trusting her divine senses, and Hestia's faith, she concluded the tea rumor was nonsense. Lu Kimming was clearly a good kid. What's wrong, Lady Hephaestus? Lu Kimming smiled faintly at Hephaestus. He knew the goddess had just used her divine power to glimpse his heart, yet he felt no resentment, she only meant the best for Hestia. It's nothing. Hephaestus shook her head and looked toward Hestia. Hestia, congratulations on finding such an outstanding child. HMPH. Of course, my Kimming is the very best. Beaming at her friend's praise, Hestia spun around and hugged Lu Kimming's arm. So, Hestia, you said you came to buy something, what is it? Everything here is pricey, even for you I can only manage cost price. Magic books. Hey, Hephaestus, you've got magic books, right? We'll take those. Magic books, are you sure? Hephaestus blinked in surprise. Where had Hestia gotten that kind of money? Yes, Lady Hephaestus, we really are here for magic books. Do you have any? As he spoke, Lu Kimming tugged his right arm. No use, Hestia held it fast. With a helpless sigh, he pulled a black card from his pocket with his left hand. Looks like you're serious. Spotting the black card, Hephaestus finally understood. She glanced at Hestia, then turned and walked into the shop. She said nothing about the 200 million Valis debt Hestia had failed to mention. Hephaestus trusted her friend had her reasons. A short while later, Hephaestus returned carrying 2 magic books. These are the only 2 we have in stock. If you need more, I'll have to bring them in from elsewhere. She handed the 2 jet black tomes to Lu Kimming. Thank you, Lady Hephaestus, 2 is plenty. With a smile, Lu Kimming accepted the books. Hestia finally released his right arm. He passed the volumes to her, then turned back to Hephaestus. Lady Hephaestus, how many Valis for the pair? Since you're with Hestia Familia, 500 million Valis will do. All right, let's go inside and swipe the card. He glanced at Hestia and smiled. Goddess, I'm going in to pay. Off you go. Hestia nodded, thinking it a little odd to step inside just to pay, yet she suspected nothing. After all, Lu Kimming had no idea about her other 200 million Valis debt. Lu Kimming and Hephaestus entered the shop and disappeared from Hestia's sight. Inside, Lu Kimming handed over the black card and asked, Lady Hephaestus, please also charge the cost of forging the Hestia blade, but don't tell the goddess, at least not until I've left Orario. Don't tell Hestia. And how do you even know I forged that blade? Hephaestus stared in bewilderment. She had just realized Hestia hadn't mentioned the short sword to her own children. And why keep it from her? Because, the divine judgment you forged is in my hands. When I saw Belle's short sword I guessed, and given our familia's finances we couldn't have paid you. As he spoke, divine judgment appeared in his grip. Sensing Hephaestus beside it, the blade sang, both swords flew up, nuzzling the goddess's face. Divine judgment. Hephaestus gaped at the living weapon. She had forged it herself, and though it had reached artifact rank, she hadn't etched any sacred hieroglyphs like those on the Hestia blade. Yet now the blade had become a bona fide life form, something even the divine craftswoman had rarely achieved. Only a handful of her creations had ever possessed full consciousness and soul, and none so vividly as this. Lu Kimming, how did you do it? Hephaestus stroked divine judgment tenderly, eyes shining as she looked at him. It's the effect of my own skill, Soul Blade. Lu Kimming gave her a rough explanation of Soul Blade's properties. So that's how. Hephaestus studied him with newfound awe, almost envying Hestia for landing such a splendid child. Yet as divine judgment rubbed against her, maternal warmth filled her gaze and she petted the blade. This outcome delighted her. The weapon she had birthed had found its perfect wielder, gained a soul, and now rejoiced. As its maker she shared their joy. Thank you, Kimming. Hephaestus bowed in gratitude, the thanks of a mother to the one who had breathed life into her creation. No need, rather, I should thank you, Lady Hephaestus, because of you I've gained such wonderful family. Lu Kimming hastily raised her, smiling gratefully. Ha ha ha. Hephaestus laughed in delight and tossed the black card back to him. Forget the cost of the magic books and the blade, consider it my thanks for gifting divine judgment with life. That doesn't feel right, your familia has expenses too. Brat, who do you think you're looking down on? We're Hephaestus familia, the finest smiths in Orario, maybe the world. You think we'd miss a few 100 million valis? Hephaestus cut him off, pride and confidence blazing in her eyes. Then, thank you, Lady Hephaestus. Seeing she truly refused payment, Lu Qiming pocketed the card. He wasn't one to take advantage. From now on, any top-tier materials or drops he obtained that could be forged into arms, armor, or magic items he would sell to Hephaestus familia at bargain rates. No need for thanks, just take good care of divine judgment and bring them to visit me when you can. Hephaestus waved dismissively, then gazed gently at the blade. Go on, he is your true home now. With a soft chime, divine judgment circled Hephaestus once, then flew into Lu Qiming's chest, merging into his soul. All right, off we go, any longer and Hestia will worry. Understood. Lu Qiming nodded and stepped outside. Lady Hephaestus, the next time you meet divine judgment, I promise you'll be in for a wonderful surprise. Inside the shop, Hephaestus stared after Lu Qiming as he walked out and blinked in surprise. The next instant she couldn't help feeling expectant. His tone had brimmed with confidence. What kind of surprise would he bring her the next time they met after obtaining divine judgment? Interesting kid. Hephaestus smiled faintly and strode outside. Outside, Hestia watched the two emerge and felt something was off. How had they gotten so chummy in just a few minutes? Qiming, what was that about? Nothing much, goddess, Lord Hephaestus just gave divine judgment a quick tune-up. After saying so, Lu Qiming took Hestia's hand, bade Hephaestus farewell, and left the Tower of Babel. Qiming, really nothing happened. Like, Hephaestus mentioning any debts. On the way, Hestia worriedly studied Lu Qiming. She hadn't wanted to tell him about it, although she knew the sum was only a few days' income for him, she still disliked asking for his help. Perhaps because, as the goddess of the familia and the guardian of both him and Bel, she had to keep things fair. Bel had already needed help over the magic book. If Lu Qiming also had to resolve the Hestia blade matter, she feared he'd think she favored Bel too much. Debt. Goddess, are you hiding something from me? Lu Qiming looked at the flustered Hestia, gave a small smile, and pretended to be annoyed. No, how could I ever hide anything from you, Qiming? Hestia denied it at once, but guiltily turned her head away, unable to meet his eyes. Then I'll trust you, goddess. Watching her force her composure, Lu Qiming suppressed a laugh and walked on. His goddess really was adorable. HMPH. I'm a goddess, why would I deceive my own family? Seeing he actually believed her, Hestia planted her hands on her hips, gave a proud hum, and marched toward the hostess of fertility. Before long the two spotted Bel squatting in front of the tavern. Goddess, Teacher Qiming, you're back. Bel dashed over the moment he saw them. Bel, how'd it go? Did Sir and the others accept your apology? Teacher Qiming, not only did Miss Sir forgive me, she even told me not to worry about it. Bel looked up bashfully at Sir, who was waving at him from behind. Sounds good. Lu Qiming glanced at the smiling Sir, especially the elf Ryu beside her, a key figure in the original story both when Bel was trapped and during the war between Hestia Familia and Apollo Familia. Her personal reason had been that if Bel died, Sir would grieve, so she helped him. Later she became his friend. But Lu Qiming would never believe Freya hadn't nudged her. Still, since she'd acted of her own will to aid Bel, she was a decent elf, especially when she'd shot up Apollo Familia in that romantic battle outfit. Explosive. Teacher Qiming, is something wrong with Miss Ryu? Noticing Lu Qiming staring, Bel asked curiously, had his teacher taken a liking to her? Nothing, that elf's strength and overall qualities are impressive. With that, Lu Qiming handed Bel a magic book. Here. They said not to mind, but we still have to show proper attitude. Yes, Teacher Qiming. Bel took the magic book and ran back towards Sir. Qiming, they told us not to worry, why still send him? Hestia looked puzzled. After all, 250 million valis equaled 2.5 divine judgments for Lu Qiming. Because I don't want anyone saying Hestia Familia takes petty advantage. Besides. Lu Qiming smiled as Bel jogged back. The magic book had originally been prepared for Belle by Freya, of course they wouldn't accept compensation. Teacher Kimming, Miss Sir said no payment was needed, just that we should patronize the hostess of fertility more often. She's such a kind person. All right, then let's head back. A faint curve tugged at Lu Kimming's lips as he glanced at Sir. Noticing his gaze, she returned a sweet smile. Teacher Kimming, could I not go back? You want to test your new magic. Lu Kimming looked at the excited Belle and handed him a top-grade mana restoration potion. Belle, magic drains mana. Once empty you'll pass out. Be careful. Yes. Then, goddess, Teacher Kimming, I'm off. Belle stowed the potion and sprinted toward the dungeon entrance. Let's go home, goddess, I'll see if I can awaken my own magic. Lu Kimming watched him leave. With the mana potion he shouldn't collapse from exhaustion like in the original story. This time there was no ice fresh from slaying the 33rd floor master to rescue him. Kimming, you go on, I've got a shift, so I'm off. Hestia flashed him a smile and dashed back toward the Tower of Babel. Good grief. Well, first I'd better buy some furniture, sleeping on the floor every night is getting old. Lu Kimming shrugged as she ran off. The debt was cleared, Hestia earned wages at Hephaestus's shop, and it kept her busy. Dungeon entrance. Lily waited at the rendezvous, craning her head to look into the distance. Lord Bell, honestly, where is he? Suddenly a pony-tailed adventurer in a red coat seized her by the hair. Hey, if it isn't our dear supporter Miss Lily, waiting for me, were you? Let go. What do you want? What do I want? Just to chat about the money you owe me. Let her go. What do you think you're doing? A calm voice sounded, a short sword pressed against the pony-tailed adventurer's neck, its edge drawing a thin line of blood. Who are you? The man released Lily and stood frozen. Lord Bell. Lily, get behind me. Bell's sidelong glance confirmed she was unharmed. Relief flashed across his eyes, then turned cold as he stared at the man. What do you want with Lily? So you're running with the brat. Then you must know the score. Meaning. Bell's gaze sharpened, a smile mirroring Lu Kimming's curling his lips as he regarded the thug. Team up with me. We both want her earnings, right? We adventurers should help each other, bleed these pack mule losers dry. 70-30 split. You take the bigger cut, how's that sound? Is that so? Fine by me. Bell's smile turned colder, yet he released the man in front of him. Lord Bell. When Lily heard Bell agree to the man's request, she stared at him in disbelief. As expected, she hated adventurers more than anything. Don't worry, Lily. Bell gently hugged Lily and whispered to her, calming her fears. The next second, Bell turned his head and smiled at the man. Let's go. We still have companions to meet, right? Of course. The ponytailed man grinned smugly and led the way toward the dungeon. In his eyes, Bell had merely leaned toward Lily to threaten her into staying quiet and obedient. Ha! Bell gave a cold laugh at the man's back and pulled Lily along as they followed. Dungeon, 10th floor. The boss is here. Why bring the white-haired brat? I thought you were only fetching that trash named Lily. A porcine man sitting atop a supporter's corpse glanced at Bell and Lily trailing behind the ponytailed adventurer. Or did you bring this kid for me to play with? A werewolf tossed aside a dying supporter and strode toward Bell with a grin. Didn't expect such a tender, cute little brat, must feel great to tear him apart. As he spoke, the werewolf reached for Bell's head. Around them, 3 or 4 adventurers roared with laughter. Only the ponytailed adventurer tried to speak, but blood gushed from his mouth the instant he opened it. The next second, the ponytailed adventurer collapsed and thrashed in agony. Eck, watch out, something's wrong with that brat. The porcine man spotted his companion's plight first and shouted a warning. Huh. Before the adventurer called Eck could react, a flash of steel sliced the air. The hand he'd stretched toward Bell flew past his own eyes, trailing blood. Arg. Looks like it's just you few. I'd hoped for more. Bell calmly wiped blood from his cheek, lifted his gaze to the survivors, and, seeing the murdered supporters and one more on the verge of death, felt his killing intent surge. Lily, go save the one still breathing. Leave these to me. With that, Bell tossed Lily a top-grade healing potion, raised his palm toward the werewolf writhing on the ground. Firebolt. Lightning wreathed in flame shot from Bell's hand, turning the howling werewolf to cinders in an instant. His screams died with him. Who are you? Why are you doing this? The porcine man stared at his dead comrade in horror, backing away step by step. Me. I'm Bell. Why? Because I'm going to be a hero. Right now, these people need my help, they need saving. Bell spoke calmly while, nearby, the rescued supporter lifted an arm as if trying to say something as Lily fed her the potion. Just because of these worthless supporters. The porcine man and the others gaped. It was the first time they'd met anyone who'd side with pack mules, rather than squeeze them for every Valis. Wasn't that how the game was played? Worthless. Bell's eyes chilled. He quietly drew the Hestia blade and leveled it at them. Scum lower than dregs, what right do you have to call them worthless? In an instant Bell vanished, a black blur flashing past the group. You. The adventurers turned toward Bell, now crouched beside Lily, but slit throats left them speechless. One after another they collapsed, convulsing. Lily, is she all right? Bell spared the fallen a glance, then looked worriedly at the girl in Lily's arms. She'll live. But Lord Bell, why did you save her, and me? Lily set the girl down, stood before Bell with head lowered. He could have joined those adventurers and earned a fortune in Valis, the whole mess had started because of her. So why save her and the other supporters? Because she's a girl. Bell tilted his head, cheeks reddening. Idiot. There you go again. Would you rescue every female you meet? Unbelievable, hopeless flirt, shameless rake. Lecher, enemy of womankind. Tears streaming, Lily screamed the words as if to vent everything bottled inside. Then, because it's Lily. Looking at her tears, Bell gently pulled Lily into his arms. I saved them because of you, Lily. I don't want you to disappear. I helped this kid because, like you, she's a supporter. And I don't need any reason at all. Saving Lily needs no justification. In his embrace, Lily lifted her head, saw Bell smile, and burst into fresh tears. I'm awful, a thief. When we split the earnings I skimmed extra, 40-60 instead of 50-50, sometimes even 30-70 when I got greedy. When you asked for items I charged double their price. I badmouthed you behind your back. I'm the worst a liar who deceived you at every turn, and you'd still have me. Yeah. Lily, whenever you're in trouble, tell me, no matter what, I'll come for you. I'm sorry, I'm so sorry, Lord Bell. In the dim dungeon, the two held each other close. Lily, will you keep adventuring with me in the dungeon, always? I will, Lord Bell. I'll stay with you forever, because you're my hero. Then let's take this girl back, and afterward return for more adventures. Yes, Lord Bell. Hestia Familia Camp, basement. Lu Qiming sat on a newly bought sofa and set 2 magic books on the table before him. I wonder what magic I'll awaken. In this world, spells are born from the heart's desire. Bell yearned for flame's power and lightning's speed, so he gained Firebolt. What do I truly long for? He raised his hands, gazed at them, and smiled. He simply wanted to live, to witness countless worlds. Then let's see what magic belongs to me. In a shabby basement, Lu Qiming lounged on a luxurious sofa that looked completely out of place. He opened a magic book and began to read softly. Magic falls into 2 categories, the innate kind, determined by one's race, and the acquired kind, awakened through a god's blessing. Acquired magic is, in short, self-actualization, interest in, identification with, or desire for something. As Lu Qiming read, the words on the magic book began to vanish. A mysterious force guided the power deep inside his heart. The next second, his vision went black, the world turned monochrome. A perfect duplicate of himself appeared opposite him, wearing a wild grin. Then let's begin. The monochrome Qiming stepped forward, placing a hand over his heart. What is magic to me? One of the tools to stay alive. Lu Qiming stared at his double. Memories of his first transmigration, confusion, fear, the collapse of his sanity after his first dungeon kill, flashed through his mind. Battle after battle had shattered and reforged his worldview. What had kept him fighting? Was it unwillingness to be abandoned by the system in this world? A thirst for unmatched power? The realization that his teenage fantasy could come true? Or discovering he could now step into, and change, the world he had once watched through a screen? No. All of those were desires, but above everything he simply wanted to live. In this strange, dangerous world, or any unknown future one, He wanted to survive, and power was his guarantee. So what kind of magic suits me? Across from him, the monochrome Kiming curled his lips and pressed on. Vitality, defense, attack. Let me regenerate from any wound, grant me unmatched defense, and overwhelming offense. My pursuit of magic. The power to survive anything. Truly me, so terrified of death. That's who I am. Aren't you the same? In the monochrome space, Lu Qiming laughed freely, meeting his own gaze. Truly me. The next instant the space turned into a starry sky, his double became a beam of light that merged into his body. The moment his magic awakened, a mechanical yet sultry female voice rang in his mind. Ding! Congratulations, host. The adventurer class magic has awakened. Only the living can deal damage, passive. 1. Your life essence changes, you become a mana-life form, no longer needing oxygen or food to survive. 2. Mana doubles. Before your life is exhausted, mana converts into life until depleted. 3. A defensive field extends from your body, granting defense equal to mana plus life. Until the field is breached, your true body takes no damage. Any damage taken simultaneously reflects 30% back as soul and body dual damage. This is my magic. On the sofa, Lu Qiming stared at his hands in disbelief. The mana once born of spirit now saturated every cell, flesh, organs, bones, his very blood had become pure mana. He wondered what would happen if he shot some out. Guess I'll ask Sister Tia to help me study it tonight. He picked up Hestia's fruit knife from the table and slashed hard at his finger. Crack. The blade shattered, handle included, without leaving a scratch. So I'm basically wearing a full set of Thorn's armor. Seeing his unharmed finger, he sensed his field hadn't even flexed. The knife couldn't have broken his skin regardless. Tomorrow I'll find some dungeon monsters to test it. He studied his field further. It normally stayed inside his body, affecting nothing, only when attacked did it manifest. System, am I still human? He held his breath, no discomfort. Oxygen was obsolete, and though he could still enjoy food, he no longer needed it to live. Ding. Based on your self-perception, you remain human in the broad sense. Fine. As long as I think I'm human and still look human, who can say otherwise? He shrugged at the answer. His consciousness hadn't changed, so neither had his humanity. Just then he glanced toward the basement entrance. 2 figures, one tall, one short, walked in. Teacher Qiming, we're back. Is Lady Goddess here? Bell looked at the man on the opulent sofa. Something felt different about Lu Qiming, though he couldn't say what. Lady Goddess is at her part-time job. What brings you here, Bell, and with Lily? Lu Qiming eyed Lily curiously. After returning to Orario she usually headed straight to her own familia. It's like this, teacher. Bell recounted the day's events and everything about Lily, while Lily watched Lu Qiming in dread, fearing he might tell Bell to abandon her. So today you cleaned out another batch of scum because of Lily. She confessed how she tricked you, and you chose to forgive her, correct? Expressionless, Lu Qiming walked up to them. Yes, teacher. It's all my fault. Please don't punish Lord Bell, Lord Qiming. Lily trembled, remembering his ruthlessness toward enemies, yet still stepped in front of Bell to shoulder all blame. Well done. Seeing Lily shield Bell, Lu Qiming smiled and gently ruffled both their heads. Huh. Lord Qiming, you're not angry that I deceived Lord Bell. Lily looked up, joy and confusion mixing on her face. Lily, did you know? I realized you were tricking Bell the first day we met. So why didn't I expose you? He turned, patted the sofa, and beckoned them over. You knew from day one. Then why let it go? Both Lily and Bell stared, bewildered. Because you're a good kid who simply lost her way. I believe your heart's kind, and every adventurer you got rid of was trash anyway. On the sofa, Lily stared blankly at Lu Qiming's smiling face. It was the first time she'd ever heard someone describe her that way. Lily, would you like to join Hestia Familia? As he spoke, Lu Qiming gently brushed the beast ears on her head and asked with a smile. Join Hestia Familia, can I really? Lily's eyes lit up at Lu Qiming's words, but when she remembered how the Soma Familia would never let her go, the light quickly faded. Lord Qiming, thank you, but worried Soma Familia won't release you. Rest assured, I guarantee they will, so long as you're willing. A slight smile tugged at Lu Qiming's lips. A mere chat with Soma Familia should make them understand what lines not to cross. As for their patron deity Soma, he was currently just a disillusioned god hiding in his familia, focused solely on brewing wine. In the original story, Soma only regained faith in his children after Lily retained her sanity upon tasting his divine wine, prompting him to clean house, but what did that have to do with Lu Qiming? All he needed was Soma's consent for Lily to leave. Whatever happened to Soma Familia afterwards was none of his concern. Really? You'd do this for me? Of course, because it's you, Lily. Lu Qiming rose, looked at the two of them, smiled, and extended his hand to Lily. Let's go, pay Soma Familia a visit and get you released. Yes, Teacher Qiming. Following Lu Qiming's example, Bell also stretched out his hand toward Lily. Lord Qiming, Lord Bell. Looking at the two hands before her, Lily slowly reached out and clasped them tightly. In front of Soma Familia. Lu Qiming looked up at the building, hearing the noises within and gave a cold chuckle. Please, just let me have a sip of Lord Soma's divine wine. Just a drop. One drop is enough. Without it I can't go on living. Outside the gate, Lily wore a disgusted expression. In her eyes the familia had rotted to the core, so she'd been saving to leave, but now that wasn't necessary. Teacher Qiming, what should we do now? Bell turned to Lu Qiming. Lily had briefed him on the way, but he hadn't imagined things were this bad. What do we do? Knock. Obviously, unless you'd prefer I kick the door down and storm in. I'll knock. Seeing Lu Qiming smile, Bell hurried to the door. He knew the man wasn't joking, he really would do it. Bang. 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 A minute later a drunken oaf yanked the door open and glared irritably at the trio. No wine today, come back in a few. Wait, you're Lily Deand. The drunk had been about to send them off when he spotted a member of his own familia, one the captain had been hunting for. Yes, it's me. Go fetch Xanis. Lord Xanis, just a moment. Hearing Lily ask for Xanis, the drunk slammed the gate and rushed inside. He couldn't let anyone else report it first. After all, Xanis had promised a vial of divine wine to whoever found her. At the gate the three exchanged glances and simply walked straight into Soma Familia, who waits at the door for an invitation. In the courtyard, Soma Familia members crowded around Soma's brewery, pleading for a taste of divine wine. Their begging postures were an eye-opener for Lu Qiming. So that's how you lick boots. Learned. Wait, why am I even learning this? It's not like I'll ever need it. Just then the crowd fell silent and parted. A bespectacled man in white noble attire stepped forward. Beside him walked the gatekeeper, now blissfully sipping from a small bottle. The surrounding crowd stared at that bottle with longing. If their captain weren't present they'd tear the man apart to snatch it. Well, if it isn't our very own supporter, Miss Lily Deand of Soma Familia. With a smile Xanis approached the trio and looked down at Lily. Welcome back. Lily glanced at him, then turned away in silence. Xanis, surprised that she no longer trembled at the sight of him, lifted his gaze to Lu Qiming and Bell, adjusted his glasses, and gave a gentle smile. Thank you for bringing her back. I've searched for this child for a long time. As thanks, anything within my power, just name it. Is that so? Lu Qiming sneered. If he hadn't read the original story and known this man's true colors, he might almost believe the concern was genuine. Absolutely. Then letting Lily leave Soma Familia should be no problem, right? Of course no pro. What did you say? Xanis's warm smile faded. His eyes turned lifeless as he stared at Lu Qiming and adjusted his glasses. My friend, you must be joking. Lily is a vital member of our familia. Boom. Before he could finish, Xanis was sent flying, crashing into the drunkard who'd been savoring his wine, and both slammed into Soma's brewery. Do I look like I've time to joke with trash like you? Lu Qiming lowered his raised foot and glanced at Charles inside the workshop. The rest of Soma Familia were on the floor licking up spilled divine wine, utterly indifferent to their captain's fate. Lily, Bell, let's go meet the so-called wine god Soma. With that, Lu Qiming strode toward the hole in the wall. Yes. Snapping out of their daze, the two quickly followed. Cough. You fool. From the hole, a bloodied Xanis stumbled out, glaring at Lu Qiming with murderous intent. Oh. Still alive. Lu Qiming glanced at him in surprise. He hadn't used much force. Well, not by his standards. Kill those three. Whoever kills them drinks divine wine to his heart's content. In an instant the adventurers who'd been licking wine off the floor lifted their heads, eyes now crazed and bloodthirsty. The divine wine is mine. Die, every drop is mine. Inside the Soma Familia camp, every member looked up like fiends, drew their weapons, and lunged at the three people in their midst. Their only thought was to hack those three to pieces so they could drink the divine wine right away. Courting death. The next instant, tangible killing intent gushed from Lu Qiming's body. Every attacker was sent flying and crashed hard to the ground. Divine wine, give me divine wine. A female adventurer struggled to her feet and staggered toward Lu Qiming's group. Lord Qiming, can you spare her? Lily tugged Lu Qiming's sleeve. She knew this adventurer, a gentle soul who had once helped her when she was small. One taste of the divine wine had reduced her to this. Don't worry, Lily. Lu Qiming gently patted Lily's hair, faced the wobbling woman, and raised his fist. I wonder if you cry as adorably as our goddess. Bang! The instant the words left his mouth the woman shot through the air, the pain sent her writhing and weeping on the ground. Looks like my goddess is still the cutest. Lu Qiming glanced at the sobbing adventurer, then turned toward Xanis. None of the Soma Familia had died, only those steeped in bloodlust were finished, the rest were merely unconscious. After all, they were only pitiful souls bewitched by the wine. The real culprits were Xanis before him and the so-called god who, disappointed in mortals, let Xanis run wild while he brewed divine wine. Soma. Don't come any closer. By the wall, Xanis watched Lu Qiming's slow approach. Terror stripped away every shred of his former composure. What do you want? Money. Divine wine. The whole Soma Familia, take it. Just don't kill me. Ha. The next second Xanis's scream cut off. His head flew, disbelief frozen on his face. Let's go meet the so-called wine god Soma. Lu Qiming flicked the blood from his nails and walked calmly into the room. In the dim chamber sat a man whose eyes were hidden by long hair. He ignored the newcomers, even with his Familia captain's head at his feet, and kept grinding ingredients in his mortar. Lord Soma, please let Lily leave the Soma Familia. The moment Lily saw him she cried out. Soma merely lowered his head, grinding, utterly ignoring her plea. Lord Soma. Plea. Enough, Lily. Let me. Lu Qiming stopped her, walked to Soma, and the instant the god reached for another ingredient he blocked his hand. Lord Soma, greetings. I'm Lu Qiming of Hestia Familia. I have a favor to ask. Only then did Soma look up, annoyed at being interrupted. What is it? Don't hinder my brewing. He lowered his head again to fetch more raw material. Though he sensed this mortal differed from his Familia, what of it? Across countless millennia he had seen many fine mortals, yet after tasting his wine they sank into depravity. He now despaired of them, caring only for better brews. Lord Soma, I won't stop your brewing. I only ask that you release Lily from your Familia. Why should I heed the plea of a shallow Familia so easily lost in wine? If she truly wishes to leave, drink this and I'll allow it. Soma lifted his head slightly, produced a bottle of divine wine, and set it on the table. I'll drink it. Lily darted forward, seized the bottle, and prepared to gulp it down, anything to escape the Soma Familia. System, will anything happen if Lily and I drink this? Lu Qiming asked inwardly while stopping Lily. In the original story she had broken free, but who knew whether his presence had changed that? Ding. Host possesses the seed of profession, your life essence has risen, no worries. As for the halfling Lily, this system cannot be certain. Is there any way to guarantee she'll be fine? Ding. Host, please find your own solution. TCH. Lu Qiming clicked his tongue, set the wine before Lily, and stared at her gravely. Lily, I can't promise you'll be unaffected. Are you sure you want to drink? Lord Qiming, thank you. I'll drink. I can't let you solve everything, this time I'll rely on myself. With that she took the bottle. So this is what Mom and Dad died for. Resolve flashed in her eyes, she glanced at Belle and Lu Qiming, shut them, and took a sip. Her cheeks flushed, her gaze dulled, and she toppled. Lily. Belle caught her, cradling her anxiously. Lu Qiming retrieved the bottle, smiled slightly, and drained the remaining divine wine in one gulp. Good stuff. He stared at the empty flask in surprise, even a light drinker like him was enchanted. The wine became a warm current surging through every limb, indescribable sensations rising from his very soul, he felt sublimated. Yet Lu Qiming never succumbed, his eyes stayed clear. As the system said, the seed of profession protected him. Why you really aren't affected. Soma, who had cared for nothing but brewing, froze, he abandoned his mortar and stared at the youth in disbelief. Lu Qiming nodded, looked at Lily in Belle's arms, and wondered whether she could break free as she had in the original story. Seeing him unaffected, Soma too turned hopeful eyes on Lily. Time trickled past as everyone waited. As the sun set, its last rays slipped through the wall's gap. Lily's fingers twitched, tears streamed as she slowly sat up. Lord Bell, Lord Qiming, I did it. Congratulations, Lily. Lord Soma, please allow Lily to leave the Soma Familia. Her once unsteady frame now stood firm, she bowed deeply. Very well, Lily Diand, I grant your departure from the Soma Familia. Soma, amazed by the once insignificant halfling, stepped forward and gently raised her. Thank you, both of you, for restoring my faith in mortals. With that, Soma strode from the room to rebuild his familia, so that one day, far in the future, he might meet more mortals like Lu Qiming and Lily, those who would not drown in divine wine. Evening, inside Hestia Familia. Hands on hips, Hestia stood on the new bed Lu Qiming had bought, looking down at Lily. Miss Supporter, I've already heard the gist from Belle and Qiming. Are you sure you want to join Hestia Familia? Yes, Lady Hestia. Then let me hear your resolve. Miss Supporter, can you swear never to make the same mistake again? I swear. To Lord Bell, to Lord Qiming, to Lady Hestia, and to Lily herself. Lily turned as she spoke, glancing at Lu Qiming and Bell beside her. Lily was saved by Lord Bell and Lord Qiming, she will never betray them, doesn't even want to. Got it. I'll believe your oath. Hestia looked at the resolute Lily. A goddess's power told her the girl was truly determined, yet. Frankly, Miss Supporter, I dislike you. Hestia stepped off the bed and sat beside the startled, panicking Lily. Think about it, you had Belle wrapped around your finger before, and now you want to join our familia. You're a real pain. And stop looking so gloomy. It's because Belle's too kind to blame you, and Qiming even helped you leave Soma Familia, so now guilt's crushing you, right? She stood and faced Lily eye to eye. To me, you're just fishing for sympathy. Lady Goddess, Lily she. Belle, hush, trust the lady. Belle, about to defend Lily, was stopped by Lu Qiming. Hestia glanced at the two, smiling and shaking her head for silence. Lily Diand, let me punish you in Belle's and Qiming's place. Lily's head drooped, yet the guilt inside her began to fade. Take good care of Belle for me. Huh. Lily lifted her head, staring at Hestia in disbelief. Keep an eye on Belle so no scammers get him. I'm not worried about Qiming, but Belle's too naive. Watch him in the dungeon and don't let some wicked woman fool him. Hestia hugged Lily, gently stroking her hair. Guilt only lifts if you forgive yourself. If you're set on turning over a new leaf, prove it with action. Lady Hestia. I allow Lily Diand into Hestia Familia, protect Belle for me. But. Hestia whispered into Lily's ear. Don't you dare overstep, Belle is mine. With that she seized Belle, hugging him triumphantly while grinning at Lily. Wah! Lily gaped, the next second she clutched Belle's other arm, rubbing her cheek against his shoulder. Oh my, same to you, Lord Bell has always been so attentive to Lily. For Lord Bell, Lily will beat gods or anyone, absolutely won't lose. Caught between them, Belle looked helplessly at Lu Qiming. Teacher Qiming, save me. Belle, you've grown, already, caring, for Lily in dark dungeon corners, impressive. Lu Qiming smirked teasingly. Lord Qiming, Lord Bell didn't really do anything, right, Lord Bell? Teacher Qiming. Lady Goddess. Believe me. Lily, explain. Belle met Hestia's pervert stare and Lily's, it really happened, face. I'm innocent, truly. If I'd done it I'd own up, but I didn't even, no, I never wanted to. Lady Goddess. Lu Qiming stepped in, prying Hestia and Lily off Belle, ending the farce. Good thing I don't face this, again and divine judgment get along fine. What is it, Qiming? Hestia puffed her cheeks, without his interruption she'd have grilled Belle about what he'd done to Lily. Lady Goddess, I used the magic book today and awakened a spell, could you update my status? You used the magic book, Kimming. Hestia stared, the caring incident instantly forgotten. Yeah, right after I got back this morning. Then strip, Kimming. She turned to Lily. Lily, wait, first I'll update Kimming's status, then bestow Falna on you. Yes, no, Lady Goddess. Hestia updated Lu Kimming's status. The spell's effect stunned her, yet for Kimming such magic felt normal. He was the first mortal ever to fulfill the gods' age-old wish. Afterward she chased Lu Kimming and Lily out of the basement and granted Lily Falna. Meanwhile, inside the dungeon, Autar casually slashed the enhanced Minotaur aside, watching it struggle to rise. Not enough, this level won't fulfill her order. Roar. The enhanced Minotaur staggered up, grabbed its greatsword, and charged again. Some spine, then. Autar raised his blade to block the descending sword, seized the beast's maw with his free hand, and shoved a magic stone down its throat. Remember this boy, he'll be your opponent. You're still too weak, so take up your blade. Gra. Clashing steel and the monster's howls echoed across the 10th floor. Hearing them, other creatures fled. Next Don Autar strode out of the dungeon, ignoring every adventurer's gaze. He must report the mission's progress to his goddess, Goddess Freya. Thanks for watching.